One could argue, why do we need Sikhi? Because meditation happened before Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. What's the speciality of Sikhi? What's the greatness of it? The greatness comes in our Mool Mantra when we read the word Gur Prasad. If you go to a beach, there's sand in the beach, but probably many thousands, millions of years ago, that wasn't sand, that was a stone. If you imagine somebody like myself who hasn't got a clue, I don't know what's going on at the Gurudwara, I've just sat there, I don't know what's being said, I don't know what's being sung, but just like the water when the waves come in and out over the 24 hours, those stones piggle away, don't they? And they become sand. So even if you've got that phrase of patthar dil, even if you're stone inside and you haven't got a clue and there's no knowledge, the waves of those blessings of the Kirtan, even if you don't understand it, I believe will have an effect. It's about faith. If you have faith in Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, then they'll give you everything. It's easy for me to say that because people would say, well, what about my anxiety? What about this? I've got faith. But some things we have to accept due to our karam, the pathways of our lives. But the overarching protection, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji's promised it. That's why they sacrificed servants, their father, their mother, their children, because they sacrificed them, that khoon that's dullya hoya, that droplets of khoon are to protect all of us.
Welcome back to the BOS TV podcast series. Very blessed. I got by Mandeep Singh with me today, and we're doing a special podcast with Gyani Sukhadal Singh Ji, and we're quite lucky because this is Gyani Ji's first podcast. So lucky we snatched Gyani Ji up and got to do the first podcast with them. And you know, a lot of Sangat might already know about who Gyani Ji is and about their seva. I remember when I was coming into Sikhi, and you know, watching basis of Sikhi videos, I know Bhaji Gurdas Singh Ji used to mention Gyani Ji's Katha a lot as well. At that time, I think you had a channel called Sikh Inspiration, I think it was called.
Yeah, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa,
Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Yeah, we used to run a class. We used to call the class Sikh Inspiration. So therefore, everything used to get uploaded, what we used to do in our sort of Gurmat class in Leeds, in Chapeltown, Apna Gurukar. And we used to run everything from there. We used to have a weekly class. And any katha, prachar, kirtan that we used to do, we used to just upload it from there. And that, I think it was a Japji Sahib katha that we did on there that basically was the one that sort of was shared far and wide.
Definitely. And that's what I watched, the Japji Sahib katha. And one thing that stood out was all the Sakya that were told in that Japji Sahib katha as well. And then, you know, we got Seek to Inspire. A lot of Gyani Ji's kathas on as well. I think Live Sikhi is another one as well.
Yeah.
Gyani Ji's got quite a few social media pages.
Yeah, I think what it was these, I think my personal view, these organizations, these names, they're titles, isn't it? And we want to, I suppose, get the message out far and wide. And for the Sangat, and different Sangat will look up at different things, and it's just different mediums to get the messages out, I think, rather than anything else or any kind of, you know, why you've got so many different organizations, why is this going on? I think it's just different mediums to get the message out.
Definitely, and thank you, Gyani Ji, for getting that message out and doing all this seva. And it's definitely been a guide in my life coming into Sikhi. And what about you, Mandeep Singh?
Yeah, well? I think I met Gyani Ji initially at one of the Seek to Inspire camps. When I used to play for a football team, and Bubby, one of the things, he was my football manager, which is very random.
It's proper random.
And he used to drive us everywhere, and he kind of tricked us into going to the Sikhi camps, saying, yeah, there's going to be loads of fun. So we didn't really know what Sikhi was at that point. And then we had darshan of all these things. And then I remember Gyani Ji, when I first kept my case, and I was trying to Pag and all the rest of it, we went on the yatra with yourselves.
On the yatra, that's right.
And I was the annoying kid that was asking you all the questions. But no, that was quite an eye-opening experience. And we came twice actually with Guru's Kirpa, and just having yourself and the other Sevadars actually go around to the Sikhistan. The first time I went to Hazur Sahib was with yourselves. So owe a lot to yourselves and the Seva that
I mean, the Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji di Kirpa aaya. Oh, this is our kind of, you know, Seva or duty as Gursikhs. And the yatra, I suppose, came about where I used to think that we do all these talks, we do all these camps, and we talk about the Sahibzade, for instance. But if you're actually at the place where those events happened, the Sakhi has more meaning. So then obviously we have a group of us, we decided to obviously do yatre as well. And we I mean, a lot of people that know us, we're very, it's not like organized to the minute. It's very much open because it's about the experience in the Sangat. And those yatra were about doing as much Sangat as possible in those Itihasik stands like Harmandir Sahib, for instance, experiencing those the 24-hour days, whatever goes on there, but also then going to those other places like Jyoti Swaroop or the Sahibzade, sorry, you put my mind to the yatra. It takes me back. I was lucky enough to meet Baba Santokh Singh Ji, Jyoti Swaroop Wale. They were Kar Seva, Sevadars, and they did the Seva for many years of the Asthan Jyoti Swaroop, where the Sahibzade, where their cremation happened.
Just to clarify, whereabouts is that, sorry?
In Fatehgarh Sahib,
Okay.
Sarhand. So we know that the Shote Sahibzade, as we describe them, they were bricked alive, and then obviously they were shaheed there. Mata Gujri Ji, the mother of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, their grandmother,
Hanji.
wife of Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, they were shaheed there as well. And Baba Santokh Singh was a Kar Seva saint, which they did Seva of that Asthan, Jyoti Swaroop. And I remember I was there 1 year with my family and a few others, because every time in the early days I used to go India every year with my family, and then anybody of the Sangat of the local town, anywhere, I'd say, look, you want to go India, we're going to do these, I'm going to visit these places, go meet your family, but then we'll come together and we'll go to the Gurdwara together.
Yeah.
And they had a bus in their Asthan that I think Sangat would have donated to them. The bus was brand new, and they donated to Baba Santokh Singh, and they were really a Tyagi Sadhu saint, where they would just be so hands-on with Seva. If you went there and you didn't know who they were, you'd just think there's some old gentleman in the Sangat just doing normal Seva. They do the Seva of Sangat themselves. And there's this brand new bus or coach, they call them buses in India, but it's like a coach essentially, 50-seater coach. And it was just parked up. And they said Sangat gave it to them. And they said, we I don't need a coach. And they talked about yatra and coming to Sahibzadi's asthans, and it was there where this came into my sort of thinking and vichar with them. And from there, sort of Assis, if you will, the following year, then I started speaking to things like, why don't we do a bigger yatra? We'll come to this asthan, and we'll, because you got to think about food, langar, because the point of those yatra are we don't really do hotels. We want to sort of give that experience of Gurdwara, langar, Sangat, that kind of thing, and Seva. And so we when we went there, then obviously that year, the following year when we went there, we obviously had langar at that place as well. So that was really good. But just when you mentioned that, it just reminded me of that time there.
Yeah, I remember learning, like, it's quite nice going with a group, and for anyone that hasn't been, highly recommend it. I remember you mentioned to us about Baba Nidan. So it was the Simran that happens in the morning. So all these little kind of gems you wouldn't necessarily know about, because there's not like a Facebook page that tells you about these things, right? You have to kind of just
I think those things are quite famous now everywhere, because a lot of people have gone now over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, or just over 10 years ago, when we started doing these, like you said, there's certain things that happen during the 24 hours of the day, for instance. And only if you've been there or Gursikh, you hear about those things, different sevas. When they do, for instance, Jodayandi Seva at Harmandir Sahib, the specific times you can go into the Jodakar and they do Satnam Vaheguru Jap for a couple of hours, cleaning all the Jode, rather than just standing and passing. And, obviously that happens all the time, but the specific sevas that happen, I remember I used to just, any Gursikh I used to find that were as part of the yatra, I say, look, that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do. And it sort of obviously all stems from it, the Sadi duty, Sadi Seva, yeah. Sharing everything, sharing everything. Don't hold anything back from anybody. That we have to share everything that we have. There's Vandage Shakana with food, but there's Vandage Shakana with everything Gursikhi wise as well.
And we just kind of shared small experiences from us coming into Sikhi. But Gyani ji, about yourself, how did you come into Sikhi? Were you born into a Sikh Amritari Parvar, or just a bit about?
So I was born in a Sikh family. I have, including myself, there are 3 brothers. My father, he used to cut his hair. He came over from India. My mother, obviously, they came over from India through Africa to the UK. And when I was younger, my mother and my grandfather, they made a strong view that myself and my brothers, we don't cut our hair. Although my father had, my other uncles, relatives would say, no, do it. But my mother was steadfast in that. Case nahi kattane. You don't know, you just grow up as a child, isn't it? You don't know what that means. You have a juda, you go to school, you go through all those experiences, negative ones, positive ones, but you live through that cycle, as many youth have probably done, where their family is not necessarily into Sikhi per se, but they have Sikhi views, values, those kind of things.
It's interesting when you say, like, because that happened with me. My mum and dad used to cover the case, but they kept my gutti.
Yeah.
It's interesting that a lot of Punjabis have that sharada that, we're not practicing, but we want the best for our kids. It's interesting, right? Where that tradition comes from.
Yeah, I think it's very important, to be honest with you, because we know families came to this country. Some made the decision, they cut their hair, didn't they? Whether we agree that's right or wrong, that's separate. But I think it's important for any family that they keep their children's hair. You know, especially as we think about the Sahibjad Day and the sacrifices Guru Sikhs made, they make for this case, isn't it? Case is Guru Di More, the stamp of the Guru. There's Sakhiyan that Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji say that even if a Sikh has to go to the deepest and darkest hell, because they've got case, main kesan to pachan ke I'll save them. They give that promise, isn't it? That's the love that Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji give to their children, the Sikh bacche. So I think it's good. I'm grateful to my parents. They did that. And then my dad had a weekly visit to the Gurdwara. We would always go to the Gurdwara every week, and we would be made to sit in the darbar. And in those days, I used to think, you know, I don't know anything. I don't understand anything. We listen to Kirtan. My mum used to play those records at home. I still sometimes hear them playing in my head from my childhood. And going to the Gurdwara, I mean, there is this viewpoint that they say, if you don't understand anything, why go to the Gurdwara?
Yeah, a lot of people ask that question, even like as we go around Q&As. If I don't understand it, should I still read it? So, yeah, what's your view on that?
So my view is, over the years, I had this thing that came to me. I had this view that came to me, this thought, this reflection, that if you go to a beach, there's sand in the beach, just on the edge of the ocean, isn't it? It's sand, isn't it?
Hanji.
But probably many thousands, millions of years ago, that wasn't sand, that was a stone.
Hanji.
Wasn't it?
Yep.
So if you imagine somebody like myself who hasn't got a clue, I don't know what's going on at the Gurdwara, I've just sat there, I don't know what's being said, I don't know what's being sung, and I'm just sat there. But just like the water, when the waves, you know, come in and out over the 24 hours, those stones sort of piggle away, don't they? And they become sand. So even if you've got that phrase, a patthar dil, even if you're stone inside and you haven't got a clue and there's no knowledge, the waves of those blessings of the Kirtan, even if you don't understand it, I believe will have an effect. And that stone inside will sort of will be taken away, and you'll immerse yourself, and then that sand immerses into the river, doesn't it? The beach, it immerses into the water, doesn't it? Essentially the ocean, because as the waves come in, it pulls that sand, and the sand immerses. In the same way, I believe that even if you don't have a clue, those blessings of Gurbani will immerse you into them, even if you don't have a clue. Gurbani, over the years, as I've learned more, Gurbani talks about this is Turki Bani. Turki Bani means from the Almighty, direct from Waheguru. Then we have panktiyan that say Gur Paras Hamlo Mil Kanchan Hoya Ram. And Gur Paras, Guru is like Paras, the philosopher's stone. A philosopher's stone is this material that actually there's 8 types of metal that if it touches the philosopher's stone, it becomes gold. And so Loha is one of those 8 types of metal, iron, and Mil Kanchan Hoya Ram. So that Gurbani will turn us into gold, even if we don't have a clue about it. In Japji Sahib, you were talking about the katha, isn't it? When Sunaya Sat Santok Gyan. Sunaya is listening. By listening, focusing, concentrating, Sat, righteousness, Santok, contentment, and Gyan, knowledge. So knowledge doesn't come first, it comes afterwards. You know, there's this view, you need to have the knowledge first, otherwise what's the point?
Teaches us other ways, right?
Yeah, and those come from the blessings of the Guru. Our Guru is even more Vishesh, Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Paras Parsya, Paras Hove. So there's a philosopher's stone that'll turn you into gold. But our Guru and Sikhi is even more Vishesh, more important, more special. Because Guru Gobind Singh Ji gives us everything. They make us like them, don't they? Paras, Parsya, Paras Hove. So if you touch Paras, they're not only going to make you gold, they're going to make you like Paras as well.
Have the ability to turn other people into gold as well.
Yeah, Keti, Shuti, Nal, and you know, we read Guru Japji Sahib every day. Jinni naam te aaya gaye masakat kaal, Nanak te mukhyo jile Keti, Shuti, Nal. So many others are saved with even you. So Guru Sikhi is such a special way that not only you can be saved, everybody gets saved. Guruji blesses everybody. The love that they give to their Guru Sikhs, everybody gets the blessings. No one misses out. Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji promised everybody.
And I believe Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji that also, when they responded to the Sikh with the cue in the
pot, isn't it?
Saying also that even if you don't understand it, it still has an effect on you. So there's that Sakhi as well. Yeah, it's I remember coming to Sikhi as well. I always used to think, but in my mind, I don't know where it come from. I always had this kind of subconscious thought that for some reason it's still working, even if I have no idea what's going on. So it's really nice to hear that you were kind of forced through that, and we're thankful for it now, right?
Yeah. And so when you were talking about how I came into Sikhi, so from that sort of time period, I grew up doing that weekly kind of ritual, if you will. If you want, some people call it ritual, going to the Gurdwara, having case. But then there came a time when I was doing my A levels. There was another Sikh that came from another school with me. I was fully Kesatari because there might have been a fear as well, not to cut you in, because my mother's brought me like this. My beard starts coming. I want to keep it.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut the beard. But my friend, he was a Sikh. He used to trim his beard, but he had a dastar on. And his dad was an Amritari, or his grandparents were. And I think they had a lot of knowledge on Sikhi. So I started learning a little bit from him. And there was a time in school where we were doing our A levels in our sort of science, physics A level group. There was about 4 or 5 of us. There was myself, Gursikh. There was a British person, and then there was somebody from Egypt. So obviously he was a Muslim, and then somebody from Pakistan, Muslim. And there were the 5 of us. And what used to happen, I was a bit reserved in those days. One of those Muslim, he used to come and shake hands with the Muslim from Egypt, and any others that were around. And my friend, he was a little bit more open with his words, and he started saying after a while, you know, what's wrong with my hand? You know, what's wrong with ours? Are they dirty? What have you got? And then he started talking about, no, it's part of their faith. They have to do their salam, is what they say with each other. And he said, well, we're humans as well. And I used to just listen to them debating, because he had a bit of knowledge, even though he and I used to listen to them debating. And then they used to ask questions of each other. He probably used to go home and speak to his family, bring the answers back. And then the Muslim would go back to his Maulvi, his teacher, his ustad, back in the mosque, and he'd come back and sort of preach and really try and change everybody. And I noticed a distinction of my friend, and he was giving information, pyar, and the other person was always about, you know, this is right, that's wrong, and you'll go to hell. And it was very much a fear, kind of putting fear in your mind. And then somebody who doesn't have a family that they can go and, you know, speak to about Sikhi or question, then you have questions yourself. But I think within my inner self, I had this, that I'm a Sikh, I've got this beard, there's a reason for this. My mum kept it, there's a reason for this. I go to the Gurdwara, there's a reason for this. So I was protected by the blessings of the Guru, I would say, that I was motivated at that point, rather than, you do question and you do fall prey to some of these points, don't you? Because you question yourself, I'm going to go to hell, this is going to happen to me, should I be following that path? Is that the right way? That was really hard on message that was being given. So, but what happened to me was, I thought to myself, I need to know about myself. So I went to the Central Library in Leeds. You guys know, obviously, I live in Leeds. I was born in Leeds. I went to the Central Library. I bought a set of books. I'm a maths teacher, or trained to be a maths teacher, and I'm not really a good reader. Even though I tell everybody at school, reading gets you good maths results. But I bought these 3 books. There was the only book of Sikh history in that library. It's actually written by Khushwant Singh, who we know in the mid-80s, 84, was aligned with, I think, Indira Gandhi a little bit. But he's written a historic account of the Sikhs from Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji all the way up to, I think, early 90s. And I read all those 3 volumes. It took me a while. Like I said, I wasn't a good reader when I was younger, but I read everything. And there were certain key bits that still stand out to me to this day. And the Sahibzade Shahidi was one of them. Bhai Banda Singh Bahadur was one of them. Bhai Taru Singh was one of them. Knowing about a little bit about 84 and the aftermath was one of them. Then questions in the Guru's times, which actually brought me more questions about Sikhi, because I'm thinking, is this Sikhi? Is this not? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji's times, I read the whole Itihas, the whole history. And one day I went back, I plucked up the courage when all this was going back and forth, and I said to them, do you know who Banda Singh Bahadur was? And he didn't know. He went back to his Ustad, his Maulvi, and the next day, for a while, he's kept saying, no, I don't know. And then a couple of weeks later, I said, no, you must know. Everybody knows who he was. I was probably being naive. Maybe they didn't know, but I expected them to know. And he came back and he said to me, Banda Singh Bahadur was a butcher. That's what he said. I still remember it. It's ringing in my ears to this day. And I got angry at that point. I said, no, he wasn't the butcher. I said, you were the butchers who bricked alive, the Sahibzade, even though in your faith you're not supposed to commit atrocities to children and women, but we see that even though that's in their faith and and that's their teachings, but that happens, and it happened to the Sahibzade, and from that point it gave me a bit of pride, probably arrogance, a bit of ego, that I got one over him. A bit of that kind of thing, isn't it? And from there it got me more interested. I went to university. I went to Warwick University. The first year was there was not much sangat there. I paused there because I remember actually I went to Canada I went to Canada the summer before I went to university, and one of my relatives there took me to a Gursikh's house because we had gay, so they said, we'll meet you with these Malay you with these Gursikhs, and he gave me an English Gutka Sahib, in the transliteration. Now you get everything online. In those days it used to say my daily prayers,
the red one.
That's the one, and I brought that back because I thought, that's the natural step on, isn't it? I learned a bit of my history. Now it's about praying. What are the daily prayers of Sikhs? So I brought that back. I took that with me to university.
So Gyaniji, could you read Punjabi Gurmukhi?
No. Okay. So when I was younger, my grandfather, my parents used to take me to the Gurdwara Punjabi classes, me and my brothers. And sadly to say, we used to go in and used to come out and just play football. And so I didn't, I didn't learn anything, to be honest with you. So I couldn't read Punjabi, just spoke a little bit, stuttering along, as you do in your family. And then in my second year at university, they were going to set up a Sikh society. And you've interviewed him. Most people know who he is. Harjinder Singh, Akal Publishers. He came to Warwick University. I was in the second year. He was in the first year. There was more Sikhs that year and Punjabis. They wanted to set up a Sikh society. And I remember there was a big meeting because they wanted to plan out what they're going to do for the year. And the people there were saying, we're going to go to this gig and we're going to do, go to this club. And Harjinder Singh, I remember, spoke up saying, we'll set up a Punjabi society. Don't call it a Sikh society. Have two. And because of my experience in my A-levels, my own logic in my mind was, because we're going to be degrading ourselves, Fine if people want to go to clubs or they want to, listen to music. That's their choice, isn't it? But we shouldn't degrade Sikhi because that's what he was saying to me. It took me back to how he was preaching to me in my A-level. So I stood on that side. So that's where I met Harjinder Singh.
Yanaji, would you say it's quite interesting that I always imagine like a panda, right? Like there's a ball, and your parents, you could even argue, forced you to have the general tenets, or subconsciously you knew that you were a Sikh and you knew kind of barely right from wrong. But what I find nowadays is that when a lot of kids, obviously we've talked about the BOS grooming podcast and the results we found from a survey, is that especially cases we're dealing with at schools, I'm a teacher like yourself, is when predominantly in the UK is Muslim, when they question our kids, because our kids haven't even got that forced little bit at the bottom, they're totally oblivious and they get taken advantage of. So it's really interesting to hear about what you said. And I think I had a similar approach growing up where I was kind of drilled in, but then when forced and when pushed, it actually made me more inquisitive like it did with yourself. So would you say that it's quite important that even if kids push back or even if kids don't have a clue, that it's our kind of duty to make sure that they got that minimum base?
100%. And you're talking to me, obviously, I'm nobody special. Every Gursikh is special, and you're talking about the Sakhi and the Japji Sahib. Everything that I do is built up from those experiences that I've had. So I always go, the Sakhi is important to me because that's where we're going to get our root. That's where we're going to get our root knowledge. It worked for me. It's going to develop love. Sadhu saints that I met, Baba Thakur Singh in the future, they would say, my Ustad, Gyani Sarjeet Singh Sodhi ji, they were known as, they would tell me that if you want to develop love, read Itihas. Because if somebody whose mind wavers and wanders and it's hard to focus, or you don't understand, like say Gurbani, Kirtan, but Itihas, history, is just a story. Essentially, in English, I don't call it a story. We call it Sakhiya, don't we? With respect, because it's factual. It's not fiction. But essentially, you can, as a child, visually, because I was in maths, so I was very visual. You put yourself in that scene. Just maybe as kids when they're watching cartoons, films, they want to be Superman, Spider-Man. You put yourself in that situation that you're one of those, and it really helps. So I think it's important to drill, and Sakhi is really important because you really know what we've been through to where we are now.
I experimented with something over Christmas. So as mentioned, my mum and my dad are the only kind of Amritalis, my wife in our family, and I have two older brothers. And my nephews come over for Christmas, and I said to them, "Oh, what did you do for Christmas? Watched Home Alone, all these kind of Western things." And normally, I wouldn't. It's bad to say I wouldn't be bothered to actually teach them Sikhi because I think they're living their own lives. My brothers and that aren't bothered. But I took them into the front room. I've got like a little whiteboard, and I put a picture of Baba Ajit Singh Ji up in the back one. They were like, "Whoa, what's this? Why has he got arrows in his back?" All that kind of stuff. And I gave them a kind of a quiz, and I taught them very briefly about the Battle of Jamkor, and they were hooked. And these are kids that I'd never spoken to about Sikhi before. And I even said to them, for every fact, I gave them like 10 facts, 5 about the Al Sahibzadeh, 5 about the Short Sahibzadeh. I said, for every fact you remember, I'll give you 50p next time I see you. And my oldest nephew was like, can you send that to me on WhatsApp? But in my head, I'm thinking, if he knows right from wrong, if he knows that some of our people in our faith have died rather than convert to another religion, then surely, if he's asked in the playground, why don't you become a Muslim? Or what's Sikhi about? They've got that kind of little bit to hold on to.
100%. I think it's very, very important. I think, something again over the time when I was in India, I learned about visual and pictures. Even if you don't know a Sakhi, if you got the visual, you visual of Bhai Taru Singh, that's still stuck in my head. The visual of Bhai Taru Singh. Because when you used to go to the Gurdwara, some Gurdwara had those pictures.
Yeah, Baba Deep Singh Ji.
Baba Deep Singh with the hand. We used to have a picture in my house with the cease in their hand and the khandan in the other hand, and then Bhai Mani Singh Ji pointing at and you're inquisitive, you want to know what's the Sakhi behind that. And when I read those, these things made sense to me then. And it made sense, and it gave me that sort of inspiration that, we're part of such a special, I don't know the word in English, but you would say qaum, movement, whatever you want to call this, not to discriminate against any other faith, not to discriminate against any belief set, but we are so blessed that, Gurbani is the form of Waheguru. That Turki Bani we said, Vaho Vaho Bani Nirankar hai, that formless Waheguru comes in the form of Gurbani in this world. We have Waheguru with us whenever we go to the Gurdwara. If you can sort of develop that kind of thinking in a child, then that development of love, that development of attachment and wanting to learn more comes from those kinds of things. Whereas if we detach from those kind of things, then it's easier to be led astray because we don't necessarily know where we come from, who we are, what our roots are, why we were, we came into these Sikh families for a reason. God put us here for a reason. Yeah. That's their hukam, we were there. So we owe ourselves to know about ourselves.
And just before we get back to uni days, I don't know about yourselves, but I've seen like growing up, we had these traditions, even little things like the names we give our children, and even just having a photo of the Guru Sahibs in our house. And then I feel like as I grew up, my generation kind of stopped doing that. We got away from our names. We didn't have these traditional things that we just kind of took for granted, even pictures of Guru Sahibs in our houses. And I feel like there's a bit of a re-beckoning. It's coming back up. So it's interesting that, I guess, to all the viewers as well, those subliminal things that seem really small, even making sure our children have a Quran, even if they haven't got their case or whatever.
That's right.
Telling the Guru Sahib's names, taking them to the Gurdwara, and even having a picture of the Guru within your house. As you mentioned, you don't know how far that seed might plant, right?
100%. And we have groups in our community which don't want those pictures of Bhai Taru Singh, Bhai Mani Singh.
And the Gurdwara, there's always
because they're scaring kids. Why are you scaring kids? But that's reality. There are forefathers, foremothers, tote har pawai bibiyan ne. There are ancestors. That's who we are. We owe it to ourselves to know about who we are. And I have this faith, if somebody knows about who they are, it will change their life. It will change their life. It will change their life. And so going back to uni, so then I met Harjinder Singh, and I probably spoiled his studies because every evening after my lectures, I'd go to his room in my second year, go to his room, and I would recount that history that I read in those books and ask him everything from start to end, and then connect from my experiences. My sort of maternal family, my mother's family, were in Huddersfield. The Gurdwara in Huddersfield used to have a picture of Sant Jarnail Singh, the 84 attack. And so those are subliminal pictures that are in your memory, and then you're asking about those things. And I'm indebted to Harjinder Singh, because I would say he was the medium he used, that Guru Gobind Singh Ji used to bring me Sikhi. I'm indebted to him, his family, because, a lot of people say to me, I call myself a waffler, I'm a fraud, I just pass on information. I haven't got knowledge really, I pass on information. But agge to agge, if you will, anybody thinks that I've done anything I haven't done nothing for nobody. Harjinder Singh is the one I'm indebted to, because without him, I wouldn't be who I am today. Guru Gobind Singh Ji sent him to that university at that point. I remember his roop, we used to cross each other in the morning. He won't know this, and it might sound cringy this, but we used to cross each other in the morning. And just seeing him with his orange dastar, his flowing beard, I used to just look.
Not much has changed.
I used to just look at him all the time. And I used to just think, Guru da roop. And I've read those books and I'm thinking, this is Guru's roop. And I just stare at him all the time. And, and then when you look, I get eye to eye contact, you turn away because you don't want to, that kind of thing. But as we would cross each other, and then obviously I said we had that meeting, then I used to go to his room and I just recounted all of history. And I'm indebted to him because he told me about everything. He wasn't biased with any organization. He wasn't biased with any viewpoint. He would just say, look, this is what history says, reference, this is where this is what that is. And I think the biggest thing he joined me to was the importance of Gurbani, was the importance of Naam, meditation. He used to do, he probably wouldn't want me to say this, but he used to wake up 1 o'clock every day. Then in the third year, my third year, his second year, we got house together with other people. He used to wake up 1 o'clock in the morning and just do Simran for hours. That got me motivated to do it. I couldn't get up at 1 o'clock, by the way, but it motivated me to do it. I used to have a car. So then in the morning, we used to go to the Gurdwara to Maharaj's darshan while they're doing Prakash Seva of Maharaj coming. And I'm new into Sikhi at this stage, but this is amazing experiences. I'm getting Maharaj's darshan in the morning. Then we do our lectures. Then in the evening, we go to the Gurdwara again, where there's Katha, Kirtan, whatever's going on, Taddi, whatever's going on, we go and just do Sangat. And he sort of led me into that sort of way, and the importance of, Simran, meditation, reading Gurbani. And then I took Amrit. And then when you take Amrit, I remember there was, in those days, there were different organizations, and they'd say, Itthe Amrit Shako, Utthe Amrit Shako. And I remember he said to me, you'll know when you're right. He never forced anything on me. It was just, and I remember when I made the decision, there was a happening that happened to me, a personal experience that happened in the Gurdwara, that thought, right, this is it, it's time now. And when I went to the first Amrit Sanchar, he taught me in a way where he's saying, don't choose an organization. When you're ready, whichever's the first Amrit Sanchar, go to it. And that's what I did at that point. I remember there was another Sikh who took Amrit on the day. He used to come to the camps. We used to go to, I remember in those days, Boss camps. He used to be involved with Boss, Sikhi weeks. I used to get a lot of Sangat in the West Midlands. And because I had a car, it was really good. I could drive up and down, go to London for the Sikhi weeks there. Boss did, in those days, a lot of seva for Gursikhi Prachar. They do a lot of things in English. Like I said, I didn't have a clue about understanding Punjabi, understanding Kirtan. So it was really, really positive. But then there came a point where I thought, once I took Amrit, a lot of different Gursikhs would come to me and they would sort of say, this is the right way. And then somebody else would say, this is the right way. And this was the right way. And I got really confused at that point. And I couldn't come home to my family because they're not into Sikhi.
Yeah.
I had nobody to go to what is Sikhi, what's the right way. Somebody's telling me this is what we believe in. Somebody else is telling me this is what we believe in. Somebody else is telling me this is what we believe in. And I've got really lost. And now I'm questioning, myself. I'm questioning Sikhi, you've taken Amrit, and there's no one path here. There's all these different. And I remember when he was talking to me in his room in those years, and just my experiences of, like I say, these pictures that I've seen over the years, he'd never be biased with anybody. But as he talked to a story, and when we got to sort of the 84 bit of the history, and he talked about Sant Jarnail saying what happened with 84, the attack, then I'd ask him, so who's in charge? Where was Sant Jarnail Singh from? And then he talked about, there's something called Damdami Taksal. It was started by Guru Gobind Singh Ji. It's a seminary. You learn Gurbani there. You learn the meanings of Gurbani. That hit a chord with me because when I was younger and 84 happened, I was about 8 years old. I remember seeing on the TV, I remember seeing, I still have those memories going to, like I said, some of the Gurdwara, people talking on the stage. You have those vivid memories that come back to you afterwards. Once you get into Sikhi, you connect what was going on in that time. And to me, my logic said, they teach Gurbani and I want to go direct to the Guru because I can't, who do I believe in here? I believe in which human, which Gursikh do I believe in? And I just want to learn Gurbani because then I'm going to my Guru because Gurbani is Guru. I was very logical in that kind of way. And inside I'd made my decision that I'm going to go, when I finish my studies, I'm going to go to India, and I'm going to learn Gurbani. I'm going to just go to India, buy a ticket for a year, see what happens. And I want to learn Gurbani because everything, if we want to change, we got to join with our Guru. Guru is Gurbani, isn't it, in this form now? And if you don't learn Gurbani, you don't read Gurbani, you don't meditate, then how are you going to build that relationship? So that was the logic in my mind. And I just thought that's what I've got to do. That's what I've got to do. And then I remember asking him, where's Sant Jarnail Singh now? Then he told me about, Baba Thakur Singh is an acting sevadar of Damdami Diksal now. They actually came to England in the winter of, I think it was the winter of 97 to 98. I didn't see them at that point. I was at home. And then they came back in 99. I'd trained to be a teacher, but inside I knew what I was going to do. And then about 6 or 7 months beforehand, I started telling my family, I'm going there, I want to learn Gurbani. People got scared. They said, Sant Jarnail Singh, they're terrorists, this, what, you're sending your son there. Family started saying that. And I remember there was a family, Harjinder Singh's extended family, they were going to India as a family. I just booked a ticket with them just to go, just to jump on the plane. And I knew, since some of the Gursikhs here knew Gyani Sarjeet Singh Sodhi ji, because when they did the Akal Takht Sahib Seva at Damdami Diksal after post 84, Baba Thakur Singh led the Seva of Akal Takht Sahib, and we know that Sarkar put money into build, and then there was a Sarbat Khalsa to, actually it shouldn't be the Sarkar, the government's money, it should be Sangat's money that builds the Akal Takht Sahib. So from that Sarbat Khalsa, Akal Takht Sahib was rebuilt, knocked down from the government money and rebuilt. And Sarjeet Singh, Gyani Sarjeet Singh Sodhi ji, my Ustad, did a lot of that collection. So they knew some of the people. So, and I knew there was a Gursikh from Birmingham called Baldeep Singh, who everybody knows has done a lot of Seva of Santhya across the West Midlands. They were already there. So I just sort of plucked up the courage and, ended up there, and it was what it was. And I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was just a shock to the system. When you get there, you're learning Uda Eda from scratch, which we needed to do. You learn Maharni, and then you learn Gurbani. But as well as that, you learn all sorts of, Gursikhi ways, meanings, how to live your life, how to conduct yourself. Katha, Kirtan, you got Sangat there. It's to me, it was like Sachkhand, that time period.
Just before we go more into detail about your experiences in India, just a few things that came to my mind from you is that as Sikh society, like basically having Sangat of Harjinder Singh, like basically was your medium, as you mentioned, right? And I think even myself, Sikh society was such a big platform for me to learn about Sikhi. But one thing I found at Birmingham Uni, I don't know if you guys experienced this, is that a lot of the Amritaris wouldn't come. The Amritaris that were kind of already in Sangat thought, Achala, we've got our bit, we don't need to go, it's going to waste of time. And I think that just proves the importance of, if you are lucky enough to have Sangat, if you are lucky enough to have been in that background, then you need to get involved in the Sikh societies, because people like me who weren't, we need those people, right?
I think it's so important that every Sikh, whatever level of their spirituality, when they go to university, they build that community. I think it's very, very important. Even if somebody never ever gets into Sikhi, but it'll give them a grounding, it'll give them a community, give them a Sangat. Any issues you can, share, tap into each other. I think it's very, very important. And I think the seva that was done by those groups of people in Bos in those days obviously laid the foundations for a lot of this prachar that goes on now. And, all our organizations that we're all affiliated with, they laid down the foundations for all of that, because a lot of people came from those camps, from those Sikhi weeks, and they moved on and did their things. And I think, like you say, when you're young, when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you go to university, it's always good to have a community. And it doesn't matter what your life is like, it keeps you linked with your community. I think that's very, very important, especially in this day and age, with all sorts of external factors that we hear about.
The other question, and anything from you, Sukhdeep Singh's eyes, just by listening to your story, it seemed like you were a kind of young person that just thought, I'm going to try something and see what happens. And you had that kind of pull to do things that a lot of people would be apprehensive about. Like you said you just found a family that was going to India, you booked a ticket with them and thought, we'll work it out when we get there, right? So I guess the question is, where did that kind of instinct or that drive come from to try something that's completely unknown? And the second one was, I forgot the second question. So we'll go back to that one.
So we'll go to that. I mean...
Oh, sorry. The second question was just on that one. I appreciate there's probably a lot of people that come into Sikhi that had the same queries, anxieties, and confusions as you did when you were like, this person's telling me to do this person's telling me to follow this Maryada, whatever. And for the Sangat now, what would you recommend they do for people that are in that situation? So those two things.
So at the time of going there, I think the true answer is, when you reflect on Gurbani, and I understand it a little bit better now, where our karma, from our past lives, our deeds, and there's a pankti, isn't it? Nak nat khasam hat, like the chain in your nose, like buffaloes have chains in their noses and stuff. Nak nat khasam hat. Khasam is the Almighty Lord, our husband, Lord Wahiguru. That's in His hand. Kirt takke de, wherever our karma, wherever kirt, wherever we're going to eat, oh sanu takda utthe. It pushes to where to go to that place. Jahan dane taha khane nanaka sach hai. So where we're going to eat, where it's written for us to eat, we're going to end up there. And now I look back and reflect. I mean, it wasn't I didn't do nothing. It was like, in a way, Maharaj pulled me to. That was meant to be for me.
Would you say that, like, because I appreciate where you come from, but then I know some people think, oh, I'm just going to sit at home and just I'll be up there. Would you say that, what was it, like you put the effort in and then Guru Sahib paved the path?
So an analogy I use about Hukama, did Guruji do it? What effort do we put in? If you think of a master who has a dog is on a leash. The person who walks the dog every day is the master of the dog. So on that analogy, the master is God, the dog is us. And every day, the pathway for that dog is decided by the master.
Hanji.
The length of the leash, if the dog is a bit agitated, they shorten the leash to keep the chain, to keep them close to them. If the dog is a bit more happier, they make it longer. If they go to the park, the master might even let the dog free. The pathway is decided by the master. On the pathway, if the dog barks at anybody, does anything wrong, eats off the floor, gandagi, does negativity, helps somebody.
There's options, right?
There's options. So the pathway is going to be put in front of us. That's why it's important to get involved with these Sikh sites, because then you're on a path. Then what your choices are in that's your effort. And that's our karam, that's our choice. And I think the negativity I felt, one, in those A-level times from somebody from an external faith, and then two, from different people trying to join them join me with their organization and say, this is the way, actually allowed me to become closer to my guru. And the logic was, I need to learn to speak to the guru, because if I speak to them, they'll tell me. They'll tell me the answer.
Go direct.
So I need to learn how to speak. So it's a logical thing. So, okay, so I need to learn how to speak. So to learn how to speak, I need to learn how to read Gurmukhi. I think to myself, I should have gone to those Punjabi classes,
Skip the football.
And so then I'm thinking, so where would I learn that? Would I learn it in the UK? But then I still have those same people with those different organizations giving me their views. So I want to go completely fresh, completely neutral, go to India. At that point, part of me was wanting to go to Damandami Taksal. Part of it was an unknown, because I could have ended up anywhere.
Yeah.
We ended up, the first Gurudwara darshan I did was Seesganj Sahib. I still remember the Hukamanamma when I was like so worried, go to the Seesganj Sahib, the Hukamanamma comes out there, oh, ki kadi na dekhne de. I thought, so I knew what that meant. I'd learned what that meant. And I thought, that's straightforward, that I'm happy now. Then we went to Anandapur Sahib, Harmandir Sahib, different things, visited a few Gurdwara. And then about, a few weeks later, ended up at Damandami Taksal. Off you go, meet my Ustad. Baba Thakur Singh wasn't there because they had a program of prachar. They were constantly out on prachar at that time of year. It was a winter time. It was the turn of the millennium. Some people were even saying to me, your plane's going to be, in the air when the millennium's turning. Everything's going to fall out of the skies. Are you sure about this? And I go, yeah, well, it is what it is, isn't it? That was the ticket, because I had to go with the family, and that was the ticket, wasn't it? And is what it was, wasn't it? They give us a room. They give me a room, and the room had an ensuite, at the time. It was cold water showers. And off we go. Start, learn Udayada, and that was it. Daily practice, Svere Sham. You go to, then you want to be part of that experience. So you learn, like I said, Baba Tar Singh was in the sort of towards Hajur Sahib area at that time. That's where they used to go, around Hajur Sahib, sort of middle India, south to middle India, Bombay as well. They used to go around that sort of time. And I just started just started learning, just a daily routine of you learn your Gurbani, you practice multiple hours a day, 5, 6, 7 hours just repeating. So it gets enshrined inside of you. A tip somebody said to me, I met somebody there, his name is Gyani Amrik Singh. I felt I was lucky because even he didn't try to kind of, use me, abuse me in any way. He looked out for me. He was Sodhiji's Sevadar, and he looked out for me in the sense that, look, just be careful, just focus on this, don't get caught up. This is a finite time you've got here. You can come to this kind of place. I said it's like Sachkhand. You can gain the blessings of Sachkhand, or if you get into Galla Gulla Marna, like just chit-chatting all day. Well, you could do that in England, or you've come here for a purpose. Don't get into chit-chatting, because otherwise your time will be wasted. And we used to sit there, so obviously learn the Santhya in the morning, and then just spend hours just practicing it. And the tip he gave me, and I say this to anybody who does Santhya, because Santhya practice is practice, isn't it? And if you think of it as practice, you're going to be practicing if some people describe it as rote learning, repeating. But what he used to say to me, read it as if you're reading Gurbani, as if you just do normal Gurbani part, even though you're repeating the same ang or the same part or whatever you do, repeating constantly multiple times, aren't you? But they said if you read it like you're doing part, if you're developing that connection, whether you understand it or not, remember I give that example about the stone, then the come quicker, you attach quicker, the love develops, focus develops quicker. And so he gave me that tip, and that's how I used to read and practice my Santhas, just as if it wasn't practice, although it was practice, it was about Bani Padniya. Bani Padniya. And a couple of months in there, I started seeing different things. I wanted more of an experience. So I started saying to Sodhiji, I've got this ensuite room. Everybody else goes down and walks early in the morning. You walk about 100 meters to where the toilets and the showers are. And they said to me, you're from England, this is going to be. And I said, look, I want to immerse myself in this experience. I don't want to feel like I'm somebody special, But I did say one thing to them. I said, one thing I do want is I want a room by myself, because I said to them that if I'm in a room with others, then I might get caught up in that chit-chatting. I won't be able to do my part. I know that's not the case. There's a lot of Gursikhs live in loads of rooms, but it was just my perception at that time that I need to be by myself so I can just get my daily routine done. And they said there's only one room. There's only one room that's available like that for you. And there was an area where Baba Thakur Singh used to stay, and above them, there were some empty rooms. One was empty. There's a Gursikh called Madhoji. They've been to the UK. They do Maharaj Sarupmandi Seva, started off by Sant Jarnail Singh in the 70s. And then another room where they used to do the Gurbani, sort of Sadaiyan, and just check, when they're printing and those kind of things. And they said there's only that room there. And you have to walk every morning. I said, I want to walk every morning. I don't want to be seen as somebody special. I want to take I want to have the full experience, as it were. Cold showers in the morning, and and the shame of, if you don't get there at the early morning, then everybody's seeing you walking.
Yeah.
And when the sun's risen and you're like, you haven't even woken up yet. Yes, because there was a rule from the days of Sant Kartar Singh. They're written in the Pothiyan where you have to they would do Maharaj Prakash in the morning at 2 o'clock, Sukhmani Nitnem, Sukhmani Sahib da Path, Asa Ki War da Kirtan, and then Gurbani Katha. That was the Diwan of the morning from 2 o'clock till about 8 o'clock in the morning. And the minimum expectation rule was that you come for the last few Shakya of Asa Ki War, because you wake up early, do your Nitnem, and you do your Santhya. Some Santhya classes happen at 2, 3 in the morning. And then you come for the last few Shakya of Asa Ki War, and then you have to listen to the Gurbani Katha in the morning. That was the Ladiwar Katha of the morning. And then after that, obviously the end of the Dawandi Samapati, I think I used to do my Santhya at 9 o'clock. So I had an hour in between where you just, have some breakfast. The breakfast was garam jal, nothing else, or lassi sometimes. That's about it, really. That was your breakfast. Wash up, go to my ustad's room, half an hour of Santhya, back to your room, practice it. The bell would ring for langar. If you get there early, you get taje, like the food is quite warm still, otherwise it gets cold. The prashad get hardened, and that's all part of the experience. And it's just mungi di dal every day. and but that's part of the experience. And then you just do that, and then maybe sleep for a couple of hours because you woke up early. You've only had a few hours sleep in the morning. Sleep for a couple of hours, do Ishnan again, and then the evening diwan. Finish off any bits of Santhya that you got left. Then the evening diwan would start. Kirtan would start in the afternoon, where the students would be practicing katha and kirtan, so that they turn the speakers on. So ragis would go do kirtan from about 2:00 in the afternoon. Katha practice would happen if somebody wants to do it, sat on a stage. So, but then the main diwan would be kirtan just before Rehra Sahib, and then there'd be Rehra Sahib, Ardas, Arti, and then the evening katha, which is the minimum. So the minimum was then that kirtan, and then obviously the evening katha, which was itihasik katha, and that was positive, linking me back to that history, because now I'm getting the itihasik katha of what's happening, what Gursikhi is about, and then have some food again after the divan. Go to the toilet because you have to go walk to the toilet, come back, go to sleep, and off you go again. And then in between that, there was bits of seva. Every student gets allocated some seva. Some people are milking cows. Some people are going to the fields to do some, farming seva. Some people are washing the dishes, the batte, whatever seva that is, Hana. So I was in the Maharaj Di Kirpanal. I was given. They didn't really want to allocate me any seva. They said, "Tu Santhya kari ja. We don't know how long you're going to be here. Tu Santhya padi ja." That's what they used to say. But again, I wanted to be sort of immerse myself into all of that. We used to go into the Langar hall, and then I was blessed and I got chosen to be part of doing Panj Pyare di seva there. And then to do that, you have to have a sort of minimum kind of rare that they would say the Panj Pyare Singhs. They can't eat anything that's from out, no processed foods. You'd have to, so everything's manged with sand or swa. You don't use fairy liquid. You don't use a toothpaste. You use a datan. So it's everything linked back to sort of the pratan kind of, Raitana me, and everything's prepared by Amritaris essentially, and you have to eat you have to eat in that sort of way, and then you have that minimum sort of nickname that you have to do.
Gyanin ji, you're allowed to share the minimum nickname that you have to do.
So Sant Jarnail Singh talks about Panj Granthi nickname, and they in one of their, and they talk about, obviously Sangat come to the Panj Pyare to say what they, and some people hide things, and Sant Jarnail Singh used to say, "Vi jeda Panj Granthi nickname karda hove, they can just tell the person bi teri galti and they don't,
Would that be lagatar in the morning or like throughout the day?
So you'd have to fit that around your Santhya. So
you don't have to do it at Amrit Billah.
You'd have to fit that around what your personal nickname was.
Okay.
There was a Gursikh that I met. He used to wake up at 1:00. He used to go for a run.
Wow.
Wake up at 1:00, go for a run, come back, do Ishnan, and then sit in a chaunkada and just do Vaheguru Vaheguru Simran, basically meditation. Some would just do their Panj Granthi nickname. Some would do their Santhya. As long as you're doing Gurbani or Gurmantar or Mool Mantar, it's you have to build that sort of time. You have to build that time. So when you're doing Santhya, there's a kind of rule where if you're doing Santhya because you're putting the hours in with the Santhya, as long as you put those hours in, you don't have to then do, like some people would do 25 Japji Sahibs or 50 Japji Sahibs or 100 Japji Sahibs. But if you're practicing your Santhya, how are you going to fit all of those things in?
That covers it, kind of.
That covers it, because if you put in 10 hours a day on your Santhya, 10 hours is a long time. So and like I say, if you're reading it in terms of Bani padde ho, then it just immerse yourself into those kind of things. So that's how it was. And you have to obviously have your Bani Kant. So around Hola Mahalla time, just before Hola Mahalla, Baba Thakur Singh came back from their tour. So I met them for the first time, sort of February, March.
What year was this, Gyani ji?
2000.
Okay.
Sodhi ji took me to say be England to aaya, and I remember they were doing exercise, and they were saying to Sodhi ji, "Tu exercise karega, do this," and they was like twisting their arms, going for walks and those kind of things.
That's cool.
And obviously you're scared, you want something from them. People tell you little, that if they give you any fruit, take it, eat it, or give it to anyone else. You don't know what. It's a saintly kind of, and I remember I was in, like I said, so they're now, their rooms are below where I'm staying. So I'm thinking to myself now, I need to get up a little bit earlier. So we were getting up at like 3-4 o'clock anyway, in the morning, to do that sort of whole process at that time. And now I'm thinking to myself, when I woke up, I remember once I woke up at 4 o'clock, everybody's already up with Babaji, and I'm thinking, I'm walking now with my kashera to the, and this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. So I thought, right, okay, tomorrow I'm going 1 hour earlier. Because I tried that running as well, that 1 o'clock running for a while. I couldn't sustain the running. I used to run like 3 miles a day. Wow. 3 miles a day running. And I thought, I can't do that. And it takes a lot of energy. And then, because the food is very minimal anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
It would take a lot. It was in the hot days. So I thought, I can't do that. But then I think to myself, I'm thinking, tomorrow I'm going to have to get up a bit earlier. So I thought, part of it was a bit of ego, pride, arrogance inside myself, thinking I'll impress Babaji as well. I'll say, look, this guy's from England. He gets up early. Some of it was that. Some of it was, whatever it was. There's a bit of all of that. So I wake up at 3 o'clock. They're still all up. The next day I go 2 o'clock. So less things are up, but there's still 3-4 things up. Bani Pardeya. The next, Babaji's already up. They've already done Ishnan. So then I'm thinking, so I'm at 2 o'clock. So then I'll go 1 o'clock. 1 a.m. I wake up at 1 a.m. There's one person up with Babaji. That's it. Then the next day I thought like 12 o'clock. So if I go to sleep a couple of hours, 10 past 12, after 12 o'clock, fir aap Ishnan karange. And I went to do Ishnan, got back to my sort of room at about 12:30. Babaji was still up reading Part themselves. So what I saw with them was if I was trying to impress them, they were always up. Whether if that was my motivation, if my motivation was that I want to show them, yeah, look, I'm getting up as well, they're still up as well. And they would never sleep. I mean, sometimes, obviously when they came to England, people see they would lay with their lohi on top of them, and a Singh would be reading Gurbani 24/7. And if you think they're asleep, they're still awake, because they would tell you everything, what's going on, where the Bani's read wrong. Wow. And they were never asleep. I never saw them asleep. And so then I started, they started seeing me, I started seeing them. So we kind of got to know, that kind of thing. I went with them to Holla Mahalla. I was sat in the front cabin of the bus. They stopped the cabin, they come through and they said, "Galla nahi karniya, sare ne paat karna hai." So everything was about Bani. You couldn't speak in front of them. If you start speaking in front of them, Bani padho, gallan ka to karte ho. It was all about immerse yourself in Gurbani. That's all it was about with them. Then we went to Holla Mahalla. I remember it's my first Holla Mahalla. I didn't really even at that time. Yeah, I'm in Taksal for about 3 months. I'm learning what Holla Mahalla is. Do I really know what it is? Do I know what the process is? That you go for a march and then they go to the stadium. At that point, I didn't really have a clue. I lost my kashere. They gave me one of their kashere to use. I got to do Seva Takht Sahib. So the Shastra that come in and out of Takht Sahib, that the Bhai Bachittar sings, Nagani, Maharaj's Khanda, all those Shastra, I got to go in and out of Sachkhand, because one of the Singhs that was one of the Panch Pyari Singhs, they're still there now. They were a student of Damademi Taksal, so I got really lucky. We went there, did the Ishnan Seva of Takht Sri Keskar Sahib in that Holla Mahalla. Those 3-4 days we stayed there, and then on the way back, Holla Mahalla finished. Then we came back to Mehta. Anandpur Sahib finished, and we obviously came back there. And then I got really ill. I'm quite a little bit ill today, as you know, Hannah. I got ill, and that next morning, the day after Holla Mahalla, that's the first and only time I never went into the Katha in the morning, or I never listened to the Katha. I was really ill, at a high temperature, coughing, sneezing, jakam hoya si, and I stayed asleep for a couple of hours. I thought I'd just get some rest. Hannah, what started happening at about 7:30, while the Katha's happening, all the doors started getting banged. And I recognized the voice. It was one of the Singhs from Baba Thakur Singh. So that means they've come back. And they were going to stay there for a couple of days. They've come back. And they go, Babaji sare nu sad rahe hai. Wake up. So I get up, 7 o'clock, do Ishnan. I was ill, but Salo, they're saying you come. I'm obviously worried now, we're going to get in trouble. That's the only time I haven't been into the Katha. They go, Babaji sad rahe hai, abhi jere Katha ch nahi gaye. Because that's the rule, you got to go into the Katha if you're a student. They called us on top of the langar, called everybody. Then they started talking about Hola Mahalla first. They go, did you know in one of the Gurdwara in Hola Mahalla, they were passing that Maharaj's Ramallah came off Maharaj Swarup. There must have been a wind. And they said, did any of you guys notice that? And everybody goes, no, we didn't notice it. There's like 300 Singhs, all the students, everybody's like 300-400 people all gathered together. And Babaji goes, Maharaj, you guys have gone and chilled, enjoyed yourself. Maharaj da nahi sochya. And they took, they were right, really, Maharaj is number one. That's the first thing I learned in Taksal. Maharaj is number one. Gurbani is number one. Everything else comes after. We know when they were doing part, the Singh would sit on a higher platform, part, that everything is Gurbani. Sab kuch utthon milna hai, and then it goes, you guys didn't know that. Then they started asking, where's everybody Santhya? How many Bani have you got? What's your nickname? And I was doing Santhya. I was on the first Bag, the first century. And they go, have you got your Panjabani Kant? And at that point, I hadn't started, I was talking about Panj Pyare Sahib. This was just before that. And I used to make a mistake in Jab Sahib at that point. And they go, you haven't got your Kant and you're doing Sanchi. They said to me in front of all these people and there's other people there, they said, Tum Sanchi te kidna chale gaya? How you got to the Sanchi? Tu to Kant hi nahi Bani kiti. Because the way it used to work is you have to Kant to the Bani before you move on. And, you move on to the other Poti. That's the sort of, obviously in this country, we're a little bit more fast track. Because it's just the nature of we work and we do different. But when you're there, you have to go through the old systems. And they say, who's put you on there? And I say, I'm learning off Sodhiji and I've come, I've come from me. And I'm like stuttering and I'm not even speaking. Somebody's speaking for me, And they go, right, you can't do your Santhya. Everybody. So there's a few of us. They go, you can't do your Santhya until you got Panjabani Kant. So I go back to Sodhiji. I go, Sodhiji, this has happened. And they go, don't worry, come on now, but I'll explain to Babaji, don't worry about it. You need to get through all of this. And now you haven't got that much time, you got a year, 2 years, you're going to be here. Don't worry, I'll explain to them. Even though they were saying, don't worry, I'll cover it. And then I'm thinking to myself, they spend all their day giving Santhya. So did you do? From after the Katha in the morning, they go from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, half an hour slots, just non-stop giving Santhya. I'm thinking, when are they going to go tell Babaji that they're just telling me to kind of appease me kind of thing. So I'm cutting through this and you're coming for your Santhya tomorrow. They said to me, you can't do your Santhya until you got this Kant. And I just thought to myself, right, this is the day. Then I just went straight into it. I thought I got to just multiple readings of Jab Sahib but Maharaj Di Karpanal by the evening, it came memorized. I take that as a, and they give all the Singhs being ne part karne for the Beadbi that happened. The Ramallah that came off Maharaj. Now, when I've talked about these things over the years with different people don't see that as a big thing. We
become like desensitized, right?
Yeah, but everything is about adab satakar, respect of Gurbani. Everything is about Gurbani is number one. Everything comes from Gurbani. And, there's happenings that, in recent years when they started coming to England more and more, after I'd come back, there's stories where people going up to Babaji and asking them, I've got this illness. Babaji going to go to Darbar Sahib. Do Ishnan every morning, Sri Guru Ramdas Sahib Ji Sarovar, listen to all of our Sakiwar, do that constantly, Ardas Karo. They never, you have saints, and I don't want to try and make this into like a kind of magical or saints are blessing people, because they never was like that. We've seen pictures of Sant Jarnail saying they don't let anybody matha take to them. Babaji never used to let anyone matha take to them. Everything was aligned to Gurbani. Saints, there might be saints, respectful, we do all of that, but actually Gurbani is all the Shakti, all the blessings come from Gurbani. There was another person, these are just quick things in my head, that they couldn't have a child. Babaji, or they couldn't have a son or something, and they had daughters. Babaji said, do a Sahaj Path, but do Chaur Sahib over Maharaj, Koina Maharaj, Karange Kirpa. Everything's linked to Maharaj. Bhi Bani Padho, Seva Karo. Everything was linked. There's a lad in Canada. He couldn't walk. The doctors, he had something wrong with his spine. He couldn't walk. He was in a wheelchair. The family took him. Babaji, the turni hunda doctor ne jawab deta. Babaji picked him up. Koi na utte seva kar jaake. Months later, Babaji's in Harmandir Sahib. He sat back on a wheelchair. Babaji, coincidentally, they sort of crossed paths. Babaji goes, "Main te tenu kya si de tich behna nahi." And they picked him up off the wheelchair and he walks. He walks. So everything was linked to Guru Ramdas Sahib Ji Kirpa Karange. Guru Ramdas Sahib Ji Kirpa Karange. They would just, there's multiple, but they become like, trying to, these kind of, as we say in Punjabi, karamati or magical type of, things that they would do.
Gyani ji, one thing you spoke about a lot was Gurbani and the sadaqah that Baba Ji give to Gurbani and how we should always read Gurbani. Just a question that comes up a lot on this topic of like Naam Simran in terms of like Gurmantra Jap, Gurmantra Jap or Gurbani Padni. Like what is the vichar on it from your perspective, Ji, in terms of that? People say that like if somebody was to read like 10 hours of Gurbani in a day, but they wouldn't do no Guru Mantra da Jap or Muh Mantra.
So people used to ask me that when I came back from Taxal, you guys just do Gurbani da Jap. What about Naam? What about, first thing, Naam, Gurbani, Amrit Naam, Gurbani chaunda hai na. But also we get Amrit Bani, Har Har Teri. So, ovi Amrit Rupa, the ovi Amrit Rupa. So there's no shanka in that. But the Singhs there would do Gur Mantra or Mool Mantra Byas. And then during the day they would read Gurbani.
Anji.
So they would do everything. They would do both. They would do both. I'll give you. There's a saying I went with to Babaji. We were talking about Sant Gurbachan Singh. Then we hear these Sakhiyan of Sant Gurbachan Singh that the Singhs used to ask them, "We Maharaj nu benti karo, we Maharaj sanu bhi darshan de den." And there's a few Sant Sundar Singh we heard in Pindri. The Singhs put the ears to the wall. And then they did darshan of all 10 Swarups of Maharaj, and Sun Samadhi de vich ho gaye see and stuff like that. And then I met these Singhs, I've seen them from a distance. There's one that Sant Gurbachan Singh, we Maharaj de darshan karne, Sant Gurbachan Singh go, we tuhi raat nu jeri rol a, it was a khand path jado chalda, we tuho kesi shnan karke aaji. So Sant Gurbachan Singh tell the Singh, we tusi bar the peredar, we tusi baron peredari karni hai, lock the door. Sant Gurbachan Singh sat on the Vaddi roll, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji roll, and that Singh who asked, they sat on Japji Sahib roll. Peredar bahar chale gaye, just for that roll. And the Singh describes it, that we Maharaj de Swaroop de vichon, jot aayi te Maharaj de darshan unhe iddan kite. So, this Singh and I were talking, early 2000s, that in Sant Gurbachan Singh, the Singhs used to ask me, Maharaj nu benti karo, bhi sanu darshan de den. Hana? Sant Gurbachan Singh used to Agya Maharaj to leke benti karke bhi, and we hear those things. So we were talking, and this Singh said to me, we hadn't heard many about Babaji doing things like this. So the Singh, I remember, when I reflect with him still today, unhe benti kiti si, you talk about Gur Mantra and Naam di, hai na? When he speaks to Babaji ne fir Maharaj da ishara karke, be Maharaj Kirpa Karange or something along those lines. That's what it's a long time ago now. Oda Simran chal piya. And that person, when I see him now and then, he's from England. When I see him now and then, main gal gul karde hunne abhi Simran kiਵੇਂ ਆ, and that Simran's never stopped since that day. So Simran, they do it, but it's not one of these things that that's like the Santhya is open because you're practicing. Then your Nitnem, either your Panj Granthi Nitnem, your Japji Sahib de Path, Baba Deep Singh used to do 100 plus, Sant Jarnail Singh used to do 100 plus. Someone argue, why are you doing 100 plus Japji? Well, Sri Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji have done Sawa Lakh Japji Sahibs. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji have done Sawa Lakh Japji Sahibs. So Sawa Lakh is 125,000, isn't it? And so Singhs used to do those kinds of things while they're there. They wouldn't necessarily advertise it, but obviously when you got a Pothi Prakash, you can see how many hours somebody start reading Gurbani, so you kind of work out what's going on. But people used to do Guru Mantra and Mool Mantra Abhyas as well. They would mix everything together. There's somebody who was telling me about Sant Gurbachan Singh. They would say that when you do Katha, you should have Guru Mantra going inside while you're doing your Katha. So it's all there, but it's what's physically and visually seen. Because Gurbani is the first layer, isn't it? It's the first Amrit Shakana. What's the Taksal da Kam Kiya? Amrit Shakona, Prachar Karna, Guru di Bani da Prachar Karna, Guru di Rahat da Prachar Karna. That's the duty of the Taksal. That's basically what it is, isn't it?
The formula from what you're saying that Babaji gave seems quite simple, right? And it seems quite simple, but also hard in the sense that it's not an airy-fairy thing. It's literally just keep it at Jinni Bani Par Sakte Una Ka Pado. And it's quite interesting, as you mentioned about Sharad. I was reading about Sant Jarnail Singh Ji's Jeevan. I spoke to Karan Singh about it earlier. Suhirat Sant Khalsa, written by the
Yeah, that's
nephew
right.
Jasbir Singh, and they even talk about the faith they had in things that we all kind of say but take for granted, like, you know, Mera Guru Govinda, the Guru is a true doctor. And they were at Goindwal Sahib once, and their son Kaka Ishar Singh got very, very bamar. And all the people on the rooftop said, look, this kid's not sleeping, he's got a huge fever, go and take him to a doctor. And Jasbir Singh, the nephew who's writing the book, says to Sant Jarnail Singh, do you know a doctor? And he goes, I know a very good one. And they're Goindwal Sahib, and he says, throw him into the boli, throw my son into the sarovar, into the pani, into the amrit, and he's all scared. And Sant Jarnail Singh Ji literally picks him up and just dunks him in. And these are things that we always say kind of aam karke, yeah, if you want anything resolved, go to Harmandir Sahib, do Ishnan. And as soon as he came out, his fever had vanished, high temperature gone.
It's about faith.
It is.
It's about faith, isn't it? And if you have faith in Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji,
Hanji.
then they'll give you everything. It's easy for me to say that because people will say, well, what about my anxiety? What about this? I've got faith. But some things we have to accept due to our karam, the pathways of our lives. But the overarching protection, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji's promised it. Tahi in putran ke sees parvar diye sutachar. That's why they sacrificed servants, their father, their mother, their children, Sahibzade, because they sacrificed them. That khun that's dullya hoya, that droplets of khun are to protect all of us.
From spending time with such great Gursikhs and Mahapurkhs that had ultimate faith in Gurbani and the Guru, what would you say is one of the most important things for people to instill faith within them so they can have a similar relationship with Gurbani?
As I was saying earlier, I think to develop that relationship, you know, Gurbani Itihas will really get you to understand what Sikhi is, because what did the Gurus actually do? Not what we hear, but actually following that path of Gurbani Itihas. From there, obviously, the way of the Taksal is Katha Kirtan.
Yeah.
And in the Katha Kirtan, that's where you get all your answers. But Guruji ude vichcho thonu das denda ya. Everything's linked to Gurbani, everything. We Guru hi dauga sab kuch. It's not set up in a way where the saint is the one who blesses. Guru blesses everything. You know, these are saints. They can do benti to Guruji. And Guruji, they can help you in those ways.
Like our facilitators.
Yeah, facilitators. In Daksal, there were things that there were multiple saints there. There were multiple saints there that I had experience with, but they didn't come forth as saints because the way the system is, you know, Sant Jarnail Singh, and then obviously for that period, Baba Thakur Singh acting in their place, and that's the sort of leadership structure essentially. So everybody else, there's multiple saints there, but they will not portray themselves as saints.
It's interesting you mentioned Katha Kirtan again, which sounds so simple, right? If we want to build faith in Gursikhi and Gurbani and eliminate all these anxieties and stresses that you mentioned, just as Gursikhs of the past did, then we need to just sit in Sangat. And it's a tradition that I feel is really withering away within our generation. And even like Smedik Gurdwara, where we are, they have like top Katha Vachiks every day, 7 days a week. But it's just like, even ourselves, how many of us make time as our parents would? And our parents would force us to go.
So going back to what I was saying was, even if you don't understand, we will be immersed. We'll be blessed. Katha Kirtan is from the days of Guruji. Guruji used to say, "We 2 times sangat karni hai, 2 times a day, swere te sham." It's very difficult, but cut to the card, you can go in the evening after work and there's Katha Kirtan going on, and from there you'll pick up quite a lot.
So Gyanaji, you mentioned a lot about Baba Thakur Singh Ji and those experiences. Hopefully we'll ask more questions afterwards. Thank you, by the way, because I remember 2 years ago when I think I met you for the first time properly, and that was my benti at Mandeep Singh Anand Garage to please come on a podcast and talk about Baba Thakur Singh Ji as well. But another person that you mentioned, another Sikh figure who's huge in the Panth in terms of their seva was Sodhi Ji, Gyani Surjit Singh Ji as well. Can you just speak a little bit about them as well, please?
So Gyani Surjit Singh Ji, Sodhi Ji, Pyar Nal, that's what they were known as. Sodhi Ji, that's not necessarily their surname. That was just a name given to them by Sant Gurbachan Singh. Because
so they were a student of Sant Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji.
Student of Sant Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji. They used to, Sant Kartar Singh first called them Bairagi Ji, because they used to have a lot of barag when they were that, like they used to just do seva barag inna onda hunda si to do Maharaj's darshan, Maharaj de naam de vich leen hona. They done a lot of bhakti simran themselves. When I finished Santhya, they helped me in that pathway as well. Talked a little bit about how you sort of develop the meditation steps, and so they'd help me a lot in that path as well, in terms of meditation, spirituality, as well as obviously they gave me Santhya. They always talked about, you're going to go back to England. You're going to go back to England. You can't. Tu prachar karna hai. They sort of set that up. I used to have this, ichha that I want to be a granthi at a gurdwara.
Cool.
Maharaj di seva karni. I used to, chalo Maharaj has come to my house. We get opportunity to do seva of Maharaj here, but they would say, look, you work, just live your normal life. Work, you qualified as a teacher, go back and work. Nale the swand kadana. If you get caught up, you don't want to get caught up into different things. Use your qualities that you've got. So teach. Utte bachyan nu bhi, change raah pauna. They might not be sick. They might not become sick. But change raah ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ you got a good career. Don't give that career up. Utte bhi kar te eh seva ch kar.
Would you say that was why you didn't follow becoming a granthi or?
Yeah, because Sodhiji kind of then sort of made that clear in my mind. I got married at the end of my stay in India. I got married there, came back here, and I said, look, Prachar in English, like I said, I came in because through Prachar in English, I always had this thing that there are people in the world that don't know any Punjabi Gurmukhi. And if you wait for them to learn Gurmukhi, it might be too late for them. At the same time, we can't forget Gurmukhi, because it's a very sort of, it's quite a balance that is, isn't it? Because if you just do too much English, phir ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ Gurmukhi ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੁੜਨਾ. And you don't join your language. If you lose your language, your case, your roots, then that takes you away in itself. But then on the flip side, there's people who don't know the language. So we talked about, you go there, Santhya bhi karani hai, what you've learnt. So we set up Santhya. Baldeep Singh had already come back and started giving Santhya in West Midlands. Baldeep Singh used to lang in Panj Pyare there. So did you taught some of the stuff about how that works? How that works, how to keep the red. They were called Sodhiji because they used to keep sod. So we were taught that Jiri Sanchiya Gurbani ek akhar Guru da Rupa. That's how I was taught. That's how what was infused in me. So we have Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they're Guru. They are our Guru, aren't they? But every letter of Gurbani is the body part, if you will, of our Guru. So when we read Gurbani, so when we were reading the Sanchiya, when we were doing Santhya, those are actually the angs, aren't they? That are like in English, if you say volumes, if you will, of Sanchiya, isn't it? So on the bed, what Sodhiji taught me is we give the Satkar to Gurbani there as well. Just like you don't go to Maharaj Hajuri if you've been to the toilet, you haven't done Ishnan, those kind of things. So I was taught that sort of way by Sodhiji, and I used to do the same. Like, when you wear the bed, I'm going to do Santhya, because that's the same. It's your bed where you're going to sleep, but then it's the same bed you're going to do Santhya. How you keep Gurbani, the Malle Suche, don't touch them with all those things. Sodhiji taught me everything. And Gyani Amrik Singh, who was their Sevadar. And Sodhiji was that, be Sod Rakhana. Sod translates to like Sucham, purity. But the Sod wasn't this kind of Karam-kand thing. It was about respecting Gurbani.
It wasn't just like ritualistic, right?
Yeah, it wasn't ritualistic. It was all focused and targeted towards how you respect Gurbani, because they're constantly giving Santhya. They're constantly in and amongst Gurbani di Sanchiya. So if you've been out to the town because you need to buy some soap or shampoo or whatever, you've gone out, or I used to go out in those days with no mobile phones. So I used to go to the sort of like the row of shops where the phone was, the STD, ring home every so often. I used to ring sort of like every couple of weeks, because there was no number where my family would ring. I just ring them. And so when you come back from there, you've worn those clothes. Change the clothes because you're going to sit back in Maharaj. It's like you're sitting in Maharaj Hajuri. It's all set up in those kind of Gurbani, that Satkar. And Sodhiji taught that. A lot of the Kathavachik that you see in the Western world, America, Canada particularly, they're all taught by Sodhiji. They're all, majority of them have that, but there's others as well, don't get me wrong. But the majority, they've taught a lot of people Gurbani di Santhya and Gurbani di Katha. And about doing prachar in English. And then I remember when I came back to England, and then Babaji started coming here. There was a happening in Canada where somebody was doing Gurbani di Katha in English in Canada, and Babaji told them off that because they were giving a sort of a message around Gurbani Punjabi is important. That's important. On the flip side, Sodhiji was telling me you can do it in English, and again I was kind of a bit of a quandary, and so I spoke to Babaji about that in 2001. I said, can we do it in English? Obviously, I'm affiliated to your seminary, your university, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to go outside of what our protocol is. And so they allowed me to. So, English, which I got to carry on and doing it in English. I think also partly there's a thing when we would do arth, meaning translations of the Gurbani, in English, I sense this now, I reflect now, and so it sometimes happens now, people would kind of make up their own meanings. And I think there's a part of a message around that as well, because Damni Midaksal was created by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. It was about teaching 48 Singhs the correct pronunciation and the mukh arth. Gurbani is infinite, God is infinite. So the meanings are infinite as well. It's like an ocean, you can keep going deeper, you'll find more gems, jewels, and meanings. But there is Mukh means primary. There's a primary translation and a primary part that you read, because obviously it's written in Ladivar, isn't it? And that primary is important. So whenever there's an etiquette around doing prachar and katha, and there's an etiquette that Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji passed down, and that etiquette is what Sodhiji taught me, those things. And I think that's what Babaji was saying at that time. And then so even in the future, as you guys know, isn't it? Some people, from different organizations, I help them, coach them, if you will. I mean, like I say, I don't really give them anything. I just help coach them into the etiquette that Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, passed down, and that's been passed down all the way through. I mean, just on a separate vichar, when we talk about prachar, is I say this to a lot of people, is the arth of Gurbani, the translation is what the mukh, the primary arth, is what Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji taught. So if we're saying those primary arth when we're doing prachar, then really we're saying what Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji said. So we then genuinely become a medium, and it's the Guru's bowl. Just like Gurbani Kirtan is Gurbani's and it's Guru's speech, Guru's bowl, Bani, isn't it? The arth is the same. It's what did Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji translate, and those arth have been passed down, and we're lucky now that Sant Guru Bachan Singh's katha is recorded. There's many happenings from Sant Sundar Singh and prior that people that were still around from Guru Gobind Singh Ji's times that said those arth are still the same. So it gives confidence that those arth, those primary translations are still the same. So when we share those, so anybody I try to help out, I try to say you stick to those. If you stick in those bounds, and then after that, primary you do the Guru Gobind Singh Ji there. Around that, then you do, and you have that right etiquette of the Gurbani di Katha. But then Babaji just sort of allowed me to go on. But the key message was, when you do it in English, you have to somehow have the next thing, Gurbani di Santhya. And when Babaji started coming here, there was no Santhya here. Baldeep Singh was there was a few ustads, don't get me wrong, that were here previously, but it was hard to find them. They weren't advertised as much. It was the Gurdwara Granthis, or but is it the right ustad? Is it just somebody reading Punjabi? What are you going to get? You're going to get the true translations or the true pronunciations. And as soon as Baldeep Singh came back, just Santhya just blew up in this country and around the world. And he was the first medium, I would say, but I think that's all because Baba Thakur Singh started coming. And it just, all those kinds of messages just sort of blew up around Gurbani di Santhya is important. Obviously, some of us would do it in English then, and then it would just develop over time, and it moved on. And I talked about the yatra and just connecting, and everything is linked. What is our duty? Our duty is, if I'm affiliated to Damdami Daksal, our duty is what have I been told, sent out to do by Gyani Sarjeet Singh Sodhi Ji, by Babaji's Amrit da Prachar and Gurbani da Prachar. That's it. And Raid da Gurbani di Gursikh Guru Khalsa di Raid da Prachar. That's it. That's our, and that Vand ke Shakna idea is, I don't keep it to myself. You have to give it. Once you get caught up in that system, your kirtakan is that basically you like what they call that you haven't given back what you've taken, and that's our way of giving those things back. And then Babaji, like I said, they would come here in the summer months. Any issue, I'd ring Sodiji. Any question we had, how do we do this? What's this? What's the Maryada? How did Sant Guru Bachan Singh? And we'd relate everything around those. And some people say that you're always referencing Sant Guru Bachan Singh, but Sant Guru Bachan Singh, if people actually take time out to listen to their katha, they've referenced everything. So it's all connected. It's all intellectually done, scholarly, in a scholarly way. It's not just saying things, And the bit that I say that where, let's say, I'm the fraud, I'm translating what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm essentially a translator. That's all I am. I'm a translator, and I just translate that message, and that's my sort of duty, because there was a part, like I said, if those English Partaraks weren't there for me, I might not have been able to.
Anji.
So that's my piece back, is try to do a little bit of English to try and give them one step, but then joining people with Gurbani, the Santhya, Gurbani da Part, those kinds of things, and that's their second step, isn't it? And that's their second step.
To speak about this at the end of the podcast, but just to mention as well to the Sangha that you are doing that translation in English now of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, right?
Yeah, so even when I left from there, a lot of people told me, why don't you do an English katha of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji? And at that point, it's a fearful thing to take, because you think, will we ever finish it? Have I got the knowledge? Like I say, do I really understand everything that's been going on? And just after the pandemic, lockdowns, a few Gursikhs revisited some of these things with me. There was a lot of, and I just thought from Maharaj, I spoke to Sodiji again, and I talked to them about doing this. Got my Ustad's Agya, if you will, and then off I started. Really, I think I'm not saying I know all of Gurbani. I don't, primarily, it's about sharing the context behind each Shabad, the Uttanaga, where that Shabad come from, and basically the primary arth, with a little bit more of knowledge, just as and when, and some specific sakhiyan linked to each Shabad, and that's a seva I took upon just under 3 years ago. So we'll see how long that takes.
And where have you reached now, Ji, and where can we find the katha?
So the katha's on SoundCloud, Seek to Inspire, SoundCloud. You can get the katha. I've personally reached around just after 350 yangs. The sevadars who sort of clean it up a little bit, just tidy it up, because I record it on the move. I don't have a party, I just do it myself. So I just record it on the move. So they just tidy it up, clean it up, the sound, any interference. I think what's been released is probably up to, I don't know if it's mid 150 or 200 or something like that, angs. But I've reached about 350 with that. I mean, I'm learning as well as we go along, aren't I, isn't it? It's all going back to what I started off with all those years ago. I want to speak to my guru. I want them to tell me everything. Why do I need to go to anybody else? So if anybody listens to that katha, it's not my interpretation. I want to make that clear. It's the primary arth that was passed down by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, and through Sant Guru Bachan Singh, we've got an avenue where we can share that that primary arth. And
we'll put a link for that in the description as well for all the Sangat. And just bringing it back to Sodiji and Babaji as well. Before we go into Babaji's Ajivani a bit more, just something that I picked up when you were talking earlier about, what was the story again about when you didn't have your Panjbani account?
Yeah, that's right.
Sodiji was like, I'll speak to Babaji for you. What was that relationship like with Sodiji and Babaji? Was there any...
Sodiji and Babaji were fine. Sodiji would spend all day. It doesn't mean that they'd meet each other every day.
Yeah.
They'd do their thing. They'd spend out, like I said, from first thing in the morning all the way up to from the Katha Samapati at the morning to the Katha beginning in the evening, it was just Santhya constant. People would come in and out of their room, 20-minute, half an hour slots. People would come in. They'd have a half an hour, 10-15 minute break for food, at some point. And that was it really. And then the evening food they'd eat in the evening. Babaji knew that they're the Ustad, that, even when I was about to be married, Babaji, my family met Babaji were here. I was in that summer, Babaji were in the UK. I was in India. So they were involved in that rishta. My family went to see Babaji here. Babaji goes, so did you they'll sort it out. So there was an expectation of those older Singhs that from Baba Ji that they would just get on and do their seva. It wasn't necessarily all, and then now and then they'd meet, they'd talk if anything was going on. Sodhi Ji, we talked about Takht Sri Akal Takht Sahib Seva. Sodhi Ji went abroad, did a lot of parchar and did agraiyan to help rebuild Takht Sri Akal Takht Sahib. So they're known particularly around America, their families in America. But even when they go to America, they don't live in there with their family. They sold all their stuff, they've given it to the Guru Car, and they just give Santya there as well. They're back in India now currently. Obviously, you guys met them last year when you went there, isn't it? And they're quite old now, but they continue. That's their, Gurbani Sikhoni Padhoni. That's basically their duty. That's what they've been doing. That's what they've been doing for many years.
Thank you for that. And Mano, you got other questions there?
I think it was just now delving into Baba Thakur Singh Ji's Jeevani, and I guess more so any specific instances that really struck a chord within you between yourself and Babaji, or even maybe just Babaji and the Sangat, that you think that viewers would really benefit from hearing about?
So I would look at their Jeevan when I had a chance to stay with them. So I've done my Santya, I've come back to England, then we'd stay with them. When I go to India for months on end, I would just stay with them. When they come to England, we try and stay as much as possible in amongst work, or whenever I had holidays, I'd be staying with them. And we'd some of these are kind of I don't want to say funny stories, but they're a message and everything. I was talking to you a little bit earlier, isn't it? My daughter had this doll. My brother had coloured in a beard and case on the doll. When Babaji came, they started laughing. They saw that, said, we went to that house, they had a doll. There was no case. And then a case rakha, the importance of case. When I went to India the last times, in that last period I met them, there was all the sants of all different Jathebandi organizations and Pradama. They're with Babaji. It was a big program at Mehta. We're going to say Fateh. Babaji's recalling that in their dolls, they've got case on their dolls, stuff like that. So the importance of case rakhane, and you could take that as a bit of a chuckle. It's a funny story, but what's the message for me? The importance of case. Case Guru de Morne. I remember one time I was with them. Somebody came up to them and they were wanting to get their visa for Pakka in England. And oblivious to it all, they go, Babaji, be pleased, minu Pakka kara do. Babaji, in an oblivious way, started saying, I don't know anybody in the embassy in Punjabi. How would I be able to get you Pakka? Main to kehnu janda nahi uthe embassy ch. Tushe te pata karo. And then it was, be Panja Singha to ardas karao fir. Then obviously, first it was I took that as a bit of sarcasm. I don't know anyone at the embassy. How am I supposed to get you Pakka there? And then say, chalo Guru Panja Singha to ardas karo. We know Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, first of all, they give Gurta Gaddi to the Panj Singh. Jado Amrit Shikaya, uthe Panj Singhan nu to Amrit mangya. Then in Chamkaur di Gadi, uthe Gurta Gaddi dinde Kalgi launde as they leave Chamkaur Sahib. Then jado Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji nu Gurta Gaddi dinde Panj Singhan de Guru Khalse nu Hajuri de vich khada ke uthe dinde. So the Panj Pyare system that we have, the Guru Khalsa as we call it, Baba used to send everybody along those times. I remember one time, and people mentioned some of the stories I see people ask me about. With Chinese Whispers, they change a little bit. I was just the street opposite to here. There's a main road. We were walking down there, and a lot of the Singhs were talking about, let's ask Babaji about, the Sangharsh. Should we be doing this? Should we be doing that? And Babaji that day, when they'd go for a walk every day, so we went off for a walk, and on one side was the person reading the Gurbani. They'd always be on the right-hand side. The right-hand side is the most respected side. So, Sajje Passe uhu Gurbani padde si.
Is that just like traditionally in Asia? Or
no, that's how Sajje Passe is the respected side. Okay. So, it might be a traditional cultural thing, but so Gurbani no pa Sajje Passe. If you look at jado apa when there's an Akhand part and we have Japji Sahib.
Yeah.
From the way we do Matha Tek, Japji Sahib's on the right and Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji's. From the side where the parties are sat, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji's on the right.
I guess also normally you have your kirtanis on the left of Guru Granth Sahib Ji as well, right? So they're giving respect.
So it's set up in that sort of way. That's a Gursikhi etiquette.
Okay.
Things that we don't necessarily know about, but that's the sort of things I learn, and I talk about those things. Some people like to hear about those. Some people think that's too much, but I personally think that they're the ways of that have come through the system, through the years, isn't it? We have to stick to those.
Hanji.
And I'm on the left hand side actually. I'm on the left hand side. Babaji's in the middle. The right hand side, the person reading Barney, and I'm on the left hand side. And we're walking, and Babaji starts walking on the road where the cars are coming, and the cars are horning, swearing.
So have you guys asked about 84 yet or not?
No, that's in everyone's mind.
Oh, okay.
That's in everybody's mind.
Okay.
You know, and we're walking on this road, and I'm the one on the left. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking these cars are gonna, and I'm kind of walking like, so if we're like three people like this, I'm kind of turn my body like this to sort of like
Tilt it
inwards, because I'm in my mind, I'm like protecting, or I don't want anything to hit them. I'm not thinking like that, but they sort of pushed me back, and they go, "Tu darda hai? Walk straight." They said, "Tu darda hai? Walk straight." So then I just thought, they've said it, I'm walking straight. I didn't turn like that again. I carried on walking straight. The Singhs are behind me. There's about like 15, 20 of them. They're walking on the path. They're laughing. They're saying, "Sukraj," calling my name out. "Benti karo Babaji, no." You know, walk on the path. You know, there's cars coming, like I said, horning and swearing at us. 3 police cars come. They don't say nothing to us.
Wow.
They overtake us. But everybody else is horning and swearing. They're on like 50, 60 miles an hour. And you know how it is with road rage, they put the window down, say, "Have you got galan gandiyan kadniyan," say, "Have you guys lost the plot? What are you doing? Walk over there, what are you doing?" And that kind of business. And the Singhs, when they sort of called me a few times, Babaji stopped, looked back, and they started laughing at me when I got pushed. You know, it's enjoyment, isn't it? We're in that sort of Singhs circle, isn't it? And I just put my head down, carried on walking straight. So I'm not going to, they said to me, "Now walk straight," so walk straight. Hannah. But then when everybody started saying, they called them all and put them at the front.
Got them off the pavement.
I got them off the pavement. Tusi vitro. And then some of them are like kicking off with the people that swearing at them and all sorts. When we come back, we thought, "We up on mafi mangiye," Hannah. The Babaji said to us, "Be Sada Raja." I remember hearing that. Sada Raja. Be Sikhan da Raja. Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, Akal Purkh Waheguru ne dharti banai hai, Sikhan da hi Raja. If we, after Chamkaur Sahib, Maharaj go to Machiwade to Alamgir Sahib utthe, they go to Dina Kangar utthe Jafarnama likh deya. There's a Sakhi of a couple of a Gursikh that comes to visit Maharaj, you know? I forgot what their names. I think they're from Bhai Rupa Ji's family. And behind him, the Shaheed Singh starts walking, and the Shaheed Singh's wearing different colours. You know, that's how the Sakhi's written, and they're changing their different bana from colours that they're wearing. They're so tall. Then he stops. He thinks somebody's following. He keeps looking back, and the Shaheed Singh goes that this is because that Singh has a shanka that we could have. Why did Maharaj let the Sahibzade be Shaheed in a brick wall? And those kinds of things. The Shaheed Singh goes, it's Maharaj's hukam. Guru Gobind Singh Ji is that form of Waheguru. They can do anything. But is Sikhanu wadan fulan waste, oh Maharaj ne aape, they made this happening themselves. And so my taking from that is Sikhan da Raja, we just got to hukam de vich ro. You know, don't have no fear. Pehla maran kabul jeevan ki shadas. You know, I used to take Sikhya, the literal Sikhya, and then what's my personal Jeevan Sikhya from all of this, you know, from these things. We went to a camp once. I was going to the camp, 2004. I thought, I'm driving through Willenhall. Babaji's at Willenhall. I go visit them. They go, they kept me there till about 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock at night. And I'm thinking, everybody's at the camp. They're waiting for me. You know, we got to get the darbar ready. The campers are going to come the day after. You know, they just kept me there. And every hour I'm saying, "Babaji, can I go?" They go, "No, better hai. 12 o'clock. They go, "Hun ja." I get there like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We wake up early, off we go. We say there's nothing there. In camps in those days, they used to do Maharaj Sukhasan on Manji Sahibs. that was like a first camp after 2 or 3 years. We thought, no, Maharaj no bed te apa Maharaj da sukhasan karna. So we went to, it was a Sunday. There was only shop open, was B&Q's. It was in the middle of nowhere. We bought wood. We actually built a bed. We didn't get any mattresses. We got 2-3 rajaiyan to put where Maharaj's sukhasan is going to happen. There was a bit of a kick-off with some of the things. We made the camp start late. I said, no, Maharaj da satkar rakhna hai. Those things that I'd learned, Maharaj da satkar apa rakhna hai. When I went back from that camp, I went back to see Babaji. I told Babaji I'll come back in a week. Went to see them, and they go, "Aa gaya camp to?" And I go, "Yeah." They go, "Amrit kinna nu shika? Kinne jane nu Amrit shaka liya? How many people took Amrit?" And I thought to myself, "There's nobody takes Amrit at these camps." And I go, "Nobody." They go, "Acha." Fir case kinne jane ne rakhe? There was 2 people that I remembered. I said, 2 jane nahi. How many were in the camp? There's about like 200 in a camp or whatever it is. And they're like giving me, what's the output of these things? Why are we doing these things? Ek ta sangat community, but apna kam kiya. Amrit prachar. So they gave me that we Amrit prachar karna, Gurbani da satkar karna, Gurbani, and they talked about Guru Granth Sahib da satkar. We like before I went, they sent me the week before. It was about Gurbani da satkar. That's why I said to the things, look, we got to make a bed. I got this. The week after was about prachar. So it was always about those kinds of things. There's happenings when they were in India. I remember they're on a bus, so they'd go on that bus. The Sangat would be with them. In the bus, they'd go. And what happened one time, there was a woman running this way from the bus. Like Babaji's bus is driving, and then there's a woman, sort of coming and running past the bus. Babaji's head took money out of their pocket, just a handful, and gave it to one of the Singhs and said, "Bibi nu dekhiya." They stopped the bus a little bit later on. The Singh got her out the bus, whatever he had in his hand, and he ran. And like in India, they have a chowk, basically means a crossroads. They have a crossroads, and they go, how much Bibi Milini, the Singh came back. Bibi Milini hegi. And Babaji goes, "Main tenu kya si den nu?" So Babaji takes the money off him. Or I think they sent another Singh with them. They tu vi chal naal. Unu lab ke unu de ke aune hai. And she was sat crying, at the shop in the middle of the crossroads. And the Singhs go to the Bibi Sadhu ne, Baba Thakur Singh ne, they sent this for you. She goes, "What?" They go, "Why are you crying?" They spoke to her. They go, like, my kids are at home. I got to pay my debts. So mainu dudh nahi de rahe. The bacche nu kinda main dudh pilana. And they say, "How much is your debts?" It's the same amount of money that they gave them to pay the debts. They pay the debts, so bought them extra milk, and off they went. So with things like that would happen like all the time. There's one time they stopped in front of a, jitte fatak hunda rail. Uthe shoppa kai vi nahi hundi, uthe nai di dukaan si, Baba's. And Babaji sent a Singh and said, "Ode vich bachcha hai, okay, is kattan lag gaya hai.
Wow.
Onu rok ke aao." And the kid goes, "No." Juda si, patka si, whatever. He was a young Naujawan si. He goes, "No." Then Babaji sent the Singh back again. So, keh ke ya, prachar kar ke abhi apa Guru Gobind Singh ji de bacche hain. Fir oh manne, fir Babaji ne gave him fruit and all the rest of it. But so things like those kind of things would happen all the time. I'm not the be all and end all person of knowing all of Babaji's galna. What I did learn was whoever spent a minute, whoever spent 10 minutes, whoever spent 10 years, who spent 30, 40 years, everybody get the same love, if you will. In Taksal, they were known as the mother of Taksal. They were known as the mother of Taksal. And a mother loves all their kids. Doesn't matter how much the kid tries to get the mother to be favoritized, one of them on the other. A mother loves everybody the same. So everybody got the same. Everybody will have a million other. I have, it's not just about, just because I know them. I got Vadiai, got a bit of fame just because of, because of the situation of the time, let's say. I was lucky in that first period. There wasn't many things that used to hang around. Now I see different saints, Jathadar, different people. There's loads of people hanging around them. I'm happy that in that period, what we wanted, we got to do. They were like a shisha, like a mirror. Whatever anybody wanted in that Seva and Sangat, they used to get. So anybody who wanted spirituality, I know like these people who got pakke, that person got pakka, by the way.
Mm.
The person who wanted the son, he got a son. We know these people. Hana? All those people got what they want. If you asked for whatever you went with to them for, you did the seva and sangat, and that you got the blessing of what you wanted.
What was it? And like even my wife's family, my wife met Baba Thakur Singh Ji once as a kid, but it just seemed that, as you mentioned, anyone that spent a minute, 10 minutes, 10 years with them, they had such a profound effect on those people, and they had such a lasting connection with anyone they came into contact with. What exactly was it with Babaji that made people feel so much love from them?
It's like what you were saying earlier. It's very simple. It's that Bani, and that's what they used to tell everybody.
Because when I first heard about Babaji, like in a very naive way, I used to think, if all they did was read Bart, then how did people, like, normally, like as humans, we need to have a conversation with someone to feel connection, right? So like,
yeah, that's right.
if they're
that's
just going around reading Bart to everyone, how is
do
it
you
that
get the
so many
connection?
people just fell in love with them, right?
Because that Bart, that's where all the power is. It's in that Gurbani. There's a thing in Australia. I was at what you were saying there. I met this thing in Australia. Sant Jarnail Singh, we hear their speeches.
Hanji.
You know, the passion and all that sort of, even if you take it on a worldly level,
Yeah.
charisma, all of those things, isn't it? When they heard that Babaji is going to Australia, there was a saying there, and he had a shankar. This old guy, they're not even as tall as Sant Jarnail Singh. You know, what's that going to be all about? Even I had a little bit of that. You know, when I'm back in the university room,
Yeah.
and show me a picture. I'm saying to her, they're saying, show me a picture of this Baba Thakur Singh then. And the Punjabi papers that used to come out weekly, there's a picture in one of them. I'm thinking, even in my mind, I thought to myself, I was expecting like,
Seems like a difference, right?
yeah. And in Australia, what happened was that Singh started seeing Babaji's height. When they looked at him, the height was to the roof of the
Wow.
to the room, to the roof of the room. And he started getting scared. Then he took the Gadwai, like for 2 days, this happened, he didn't tell no one. Then he took the Gadwai to Babaji and he says, Babaji, maafi mangata hai. Babaji goes, you know, I'm not doing anything. She the large rakh. They said something like that. She sing large rakh. I ain't done nothing. Koi na, that kind of thing. You know, he actually started seeing them like that tall because he had a shankar. But that aura of Gurbani is the changing of everything. They, in general, they wouldn't do, you know, they didn't do any nidya of anybody. Well, I've said it wrong there. In general, that suggests that they might have done.
Yeah.
They just stood up for what is right and what is wrong. In the times of post 84, so pre 84, their parents read a lot of Bart. Their father used to walk from in Pakistan, East Jogil, where their pind was, to Taran Taran Sahib every year, Nange Peri, and Sangat used to join them and walk to that Taran Taran Sahib Yatra. So, and then they did so much Bart, Simran. So, in your household, then you get a Gurmukh, Jan comes, Jan Parapakari Ai, Babaji comes. Babaji is all about just Bart from day one and Langarandi Seva. Because after, even for Sant Gurbachan Singh, they were their Langri essentially.
Oh, wow. Is that what they started?
That's their Gadwai Seva, was making Langar for them.
Okay.
So, Sant Kartar Singh was, because Sant Kartar Singh had a role previously as a Patwari. Basically, they were padhe likhe hoye sige, they were qualified, they had education. So they did a lot of the sort of like the educational side of Gadwai Puna, let's say.
The admin.
Any medication, booking, you know, any programs, that kind of, they did the sort of that kind of, and Babaji would cook the food as amongst, obviously they did all the other seva as well, Sant Kartar Singh, not got me wrong that they would just do that. But they were more inclined and they could do those kinds of things, and Babaji would, you know, and then obviously Babaji had that furna when Sant Gurbachan Singh's going, that I want to stay and do the Singhandi Seva. They used to do Singhandi Seva. Look, I've met many saints afterwards, and I respect loads of them. I respect them all. I respect anyone, even if in my mind, if I think there's not nothing there, I won't try and jana that to, I wouldn't show that to anybody. I still do their seva, I still bring them to my house. I singha da kam hana. Like I was saying, they used to say, if you want any ardas, panj singha nu prasada shika do. It'll happen. Why are they so confident in saying those things? These are Guru Gobind Singh Ji's button. And it's just passing that message on to say, we don't have to look elsewhere. We've got everything ourselves. We can become those. We can become those things. We can have that. We can have those blessings ourselves. And they were. So these saints that come, Babaji used to start marging bhatti themselves. They used to start manjing batte themselves, like, well, what, feed everybody themselves. When we were at the house, Karanveer Singh's grandparents' house, multiple times, you know, when the day of the flights the next morning. So obviously loads of people came then because the flight's early in the morning. Everybody comes the night before. There was a group of Singhs once that wanted to come to visit them. And they were going to go to sleep because they got a flight in the morning. Like, we got to enter the airport like 8, 9. The flight's usually in the morning, aren't they? So 8, 9 o'clock, they're going to 4, 5 baje uth ke unhone chal jana hai. You know, flight's going to leave at 8, 9 o'clock. And I'm with them, and the Singhs are ringing me, tell Babaji not to be rest. So what I mean by rest, I told you earlier, they didn't go to sleep. What I mean was, what they used to do at a certain time, they used to send the Singh in their last few years. What used to happen was the Singh at around 10, 11 o'clock, Kirtan Sola Padke, they used to send the Singh, and they used to put on Sant Guru Bachan Singh's Katha. And the Peredar Singhs would just be there. But the person who's reading the part, because Nitnem Pura ho challe, it's like nearly 12 o'clock. Nitnem Pura karta diadi da, Kirtan Sola Padke, send the Singh. Like, he's going to start first thing in the morning again, isn't he?
Just have their own time.
Yeah. So Kirtan Sola bhi Nitnem Pura karna. And then they would put, in those last few years, they started listening to Sant Guru Bachan Singh's Katha. And they're telling me to tell Babaji, and I'm saying, look, I never used to tell them anything. Like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that? Just let them, you know, let them be in the situation. Just enjoy the experience, the seva and the sangat. But then they just kept hounding me, and then Babaji found out what's going on between the phone, what's going on. I said, Singh aa rahe hai. Acha, Singh aa rahe hai. They didn't even stop. They waited till them after 12 o'clock. They said, who's coming? Now, in that group of Singhs, in those days, there weren't many of them. I remember what I said. And in those days, some of them hadn't done Sangat of Babaji, but they were Shardalus of, let's say, Sant Jarnail Singh, the Sangarsh and stuff like that. So I said to them, Santan de Shardalu ne, acha Santan de Shardalu hai. Then we have to wait up for them. They waited up for them. They got airport in the morning. The Singhs want to go to sleep as well because they want to get up. You know, tachi tuchi saman katha karna, and no, everybody stays up. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਰੋਪੇ ਵੰਡੇ at that point, when you sleep there that night, like what I was saying is, obviously there's a finite number of bedrooms in a house, but then when you got 20 people have just landed, you just find a corner, you go to sleep. They used to go around, take their own kambal off them and put it on whoever's asleep in the, you know, it was very much motherly. That's what I'm saying. It's very much motherly. So when you're in that system, that love you get, I haven't, with respect to everybody, I mean, people know I mix and match with a lot of sadhu saints, but there is no one on that level. So further, when they were the only ones that could say something to Sant Jarnail Singh to their face and say, what are you doing? Because we know Sant Jarnail Singh used to say, Turda Firda Rabba. You know, we used to say, Sant Kartar Singh said that if anything happens to they're in charge. They're in charge of them. Where there's sevadar. That's how they used to. Sant Kartar Singh, Sant Jarnail Singh used to say, they're in charge. We're just sevadars. We're just like you guys, the Vidyarthis and all the rest of it. They're in charge. And then after 84, they spent some months underground, different families' houses. Spent 3 months somewhere, 6 months somewhere.
What was the reason for that?
Because the police were picking up anybody and everybody.
Okay.
So in general, it's a Rajniti, isn't it? It's just like everybody go underground a little bit.
Just stay low for a bit.
Yeah, stay low. It's not as if they were in hiding. If people wanted to find, the Singhs knew where they were.
Yeah.
You could find them if you want them.
There's not unneeded attention.
Yeah, that's it. That kind of thing. And you know, when sake used to happen, they used to say, "Hun udhar ho gaya." Find out later on, koi soda lag gaya kihe da. So they would be saying to the families, jithe, when there was a big part Karone Singha di Chardhi Kala vaste Sampat part, there was a Singh who came to this country. He's passed away now. His name was Gyani Harbans Singh. Paramhans they used to call him. Baba used to make him do the part. He's in actually one of those calendar pictures at Darbar Sahib. He's got goofy teeth, and you'll see him, and he's holding a gun. He said, it's the one and only time I held a gun. You know, Sant Jarnail Singh said, Tu bhi phadla. He used to do parts for the Chardhi Kala of the Singhs. And Babaji used to use him. And then Jiri Shaheed Parwar ne, like for many years, people used to say, you know, they used to have this negative narrative, look what happened in 84, fir mud ke kisi ne sambhya nahi. But since we started having these TV channels, the Sikh channel, went and collected money for Shahid Parvaz. They went and gave their Khalsa aid. When other organizations have gone in recent years, it's been on media, social media, on TV. Every time they went there, other Singhs that I know that have done it on an individual basis, they said, "Who looked after you?" Baba Thakur Singh looked after us. Ever since they left, no one looks after. They openly say that. That's there's no hidden fact now. But there was a period where people say they didn't do nothing. What did they do? Whether they were the Mashhoor Shaheed family, like Bhai Behant Singh,
A more famous family.
famous families, Bhai Amriq Singh's family, those families, or whether they were like Pinda de vich jithe Pindi Shaheed ho gaye, whether it was those families no one knows about, they looked after everybody. Like I said, they led the Akal Tak Sahib Seva, Bhi Sangat Wallo Honiya. Then they backed away from that as well and passed it on to, because we've done what we need to do, and then it's passed it back in the hands of the situation of the time. So jithe ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ if you will ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਭਿਆ like their mother, they also did their duty with the Qaum as well. They also did their duty with the Qaum, and they looked after everybody, they looked after everybody, and the power is in that Bani and not speaking. The power, I mean, power is a sort of false word, isn't it? It makes it sound like this is about levels of Shakti or all those kinds of things, but there's no other way to explain it in English. It's all in there. You imagine this 24 hours of part going on of Turki Bani, that's the Almighty's Bani is going on, then that aura is great. That aura, that whatever that's going to have an effect, isn't it? Isn't that's where the effect was. That's where the effect was for everybody. They, like I said, for Prachar, for me, those messages around Gurbani da Satkar, Amar Sakona, saying the right thing, don't backing away from the right thing, try to uphold Maryada. Not to say that Damdami Diksal is the right and only way, They used to respect, all the Jathebandis used to come to those programs there. They used to respect them all. Here they started off the seva of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Pavan Sarups. They started it off in the UK. I know Poti Sahib were doing some stuff, but in the sort of the mainstream level, they started it off, and there's been different groups that have done that. They started off a Panj Pyare Jatha here as well. They said to a few people, "Bhi tusi the Panj Pyare di seva karni, Amar Sakond di seva karni hai." And then so after so many years, because it's coming up to 20 years of Baba Thakur Singh next year.
Oh yeah.
So Singhs who from those times have come together, and they felt that we need some sort of asthan in the memory of Baba Thakur Singh, which will not only help propagate with all these external attacks that we've talked about a little bit earlier, help and spread the message of Gursikhi, a Gurmat Vadi Allah in the name of Sant Gyani Jarnail Singh Khalsa, a place, asthan where Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji di seva ho sake, seva asthan, and then in memory of Baba Thakur Singh. It seems very biased, but the explosion of Sikhi Prachar and Santhya and Katha and Gyan and all of those things came from Baba Thakur Singh. There was things that were going on, don't get me wrong, but they weren't happening in a way where they happen now.
And
that explosion, I believe, is down to them coming to this country, and and people want to sort of just carry that legacy on, really, isn't it?
And just before we go into the project you mentioned very briefly there, which is really exciting as well, are there any specific bhajans or things with regards to the future that Babaji shared with you that you wouldn't mind sharing with us? That could be with regards to what kind of mission they sent, just generally the things on in England, things for Punjab, for as a Panthik level. Are there any things that you could share that Babaji's kind of warned us about or told us be careful with these things?
I mean, everybody knows what they said for 20 years, didn't they? They talked about Sant Jarnail Singh being in Chardi Kala.
Hanji.
So they talked about that. Now, that doesn't mean that if somebody believes that Sant Jarnail Singh is Shaheed, that there's something wrong with that person.
Hanji.
That's a person's personal viewpoint, isn't it?
Sure.
So with me personally, they said a few things, they talked about those things. So when you've stayed with a person, even just your friend or your family, and you develop a relationship with that person, you believe if you see what they've done for you or what they say, you believe everything that they tell you then.
Hanji.
They talked about they didn't say this to me,
Yeah.
but I remember one Singh asked about, can I meet Sant Jarnail Singh? He was one of the Singhs who came that night, by the way. They also, fir Baba Ji ne rupe ditte.
Oh yeah.
And Baba Ji goes, first thing they said was, Guru Vadaya. You know, but then they said, if you're that adamant, भी सुखमनी अमृत वेले उठ के सुखमनी साहब दा पाठ करया करो आपी जे मिलना होया मिल लैणगे जिथों जिद्दां जिद्दां दी सेवा लैनी आपी सेवा ले लैणगे so they'd everything would be back to Gurbani again. There's another one they talked about, two famous people of the Panth that weren't seen as positive people of the Panth. They said that when they pass away, when both of them pass away, they said this to another Singh, when both of them pass away, those personalities, that you will see a real change and negativity, and from there the positivity of the Khalsa will come through. One of those passed away in 2005, and the second one passed away, I think, last year or the year before, a couple of years, 2-3 years. I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but certainly the last year or so, 2 years maybe.
So these are good times then.
So good, but before good times, you get the bad times, don't you?
Yeah.
You get the bad times, isn't it?
And did Baba Ji ever like go into specific things regarding Punjab and things that are going to happen or anything?
So those kinds of things, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji already said these things.
Hanji.
They already said stuff after Anandapur Sahib, what's going to happen.
Hanji.
Khalsa da Raj hona ya. If you'd have stayed a bit longer here, you'd have got it now.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen at Anandapur Sahib. Stuff like that. They said those things. And then Sant Guru Bachan Singh in their Katha say those things.
Oh wow.
If you listen to you'll hear those same things in the Katha. And Babaji will also say, Vadde Mahapurush, because that's what Sant Guru Bachan Singh was known as, Vadde Mahapurush.
Hanji.
And they say, Vadde Mahapurush iddaं kehndे si.
What kind of things were they saying?
Just about be halat kiddaं de hone ya.
Okay.
But like I said, some of these are from the likhts of the Gurus.
Hanji.
Hana? Be 12 kote diva balega, like electricity, energy will cease to exist, all these kind of things.
Oh wow.
There'll come a time when it's like that. Who knows when that time is?
Hanji.
Because the other thing I learned from them is you live in the present. Live in the present. Live in the situation. Jirai saya, this saw that we've just breathed now while I paused, that's not coming back. Dusra aa gaya, oh bhi gaya, tija aa gaya, oh bhi gaya. They don't come back. We got to live in the present. That's what they sort of massively pushed. The impact they had on me is what I say exactly what they used to say to us. I portray that.
Hanji.
I portray that. I don't try and make anything. Like I said, who are we? Or the Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji di Qawm, Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji di Sikhiya, But you live in the present.
And with regards to, if you could tell us a bit more about this project, and also was that anything to do with Baba Thakur Singh Ji or?
So I think in those times there was talk of maybe making different branches in the Western world, but because the Santya started happening in different Gurdwara anyway, then in the UK it didn't really materialize. In America and Canada, there's a lot of asthans already, but American kind of is different. They're like everybody's like far distances with each other. Here, everything's very dense, isn't it?
Hanji.
And so for a period of time, there was like, it wasn't revisited. But recently, it's been revisited to have a place, an asthan, a site where Gurmat Vidya can be shared. That doesn't mean to say that people are not already doing it. You guys run over the Allah anyway. It doesn't mean to say that people are already doing it, that it's a competition thing. It's just giving that avenue for another, resource,
100%.
essentially, isn't it? And for Prachar, to teach those things. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier, everything becomes closeted. We're from this organization, this Jathebandi. In the old days, everybody was together. Everybody had to learn from Damani Taksal. If you look back in the times of Baba Deep Singh Sahib Ji, a lot of the Gursikhs from Buddha Dal, Tarna Dal, or the missiles, they learned from Baba Deep Singh Ji, Baba Gurbakh Singh Ji, because everybody was interconnected anyway. And then they went and fought. Like, for instance, Baba Deep Singh Ji and Shidi missile.
Yeah.
So it was interconnected. Is now because we've got an increase in number of population of Sikhs, we closet ourselves to these things. And because of that closet, there's a Western influence. There's nothing wrong with a Western influence, if that's what you believe in. But is it the Tat Gursikhi? Is it, for instance, Banda Singh Bahadur. They were given everything by Guru Gobind Singh Ji.
Mm.
Given 5 teers, given basics, what was it, 25 Singhs
And
that came with them.
the Panj Pyare.
Panj Pyare that they stayed in the Agya. But Maharaj given 3 bachan, didn't they? भी तुही गुरु खालसे the Panj, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਗਿਆ 'ਚ ਸਲਾਹ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ, ਗੁਰੂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਨਾ, ਸ਼ਕਤੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਿਖਾਉਣੀਆਂ, and stay jat sat kam, stay respectable. But he went against some of those, and he set himself up as the guru, because he was winning battles.
Mm.
It's said that he, the teers that Maharaj gave him, he would just have to stand on a battlefield and just put the teer in the bow. And there was one battle, I can't remember the name of the battle, that like they're all asking Banda Singh Bahadur, come into the battlefield, like it's looking like it's, and he just steps into the battlefield, and Shidi Faujan, there was all that Shakti of the Shidi Faujan that we talk about, and they came and massacred, they won those battles, and the Khalsa just grew day by day. Baba Deep Singh Sahib Ji came from Damdama, everybody fought in that. The Majhe Wali Sangat came, Duabe Wali Sangat, everybody got involved. But then it sort of went astray, isn't it? So when we lose the essence and the tat, because there's so many influences, then I think the Singhs are feeling, look, there's this narrative as well.
Yep.
And then it's anybody who wants it.
Could you tell us a bit more of the specifics with regards to the project? Where is it, and like what are the plans or the timelines?
And the name of the project, because I don't think, for people that don't know, what's this project as well?
So the project is to buy a site. It's going to be in the name of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji first and foremost. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Seva Asthan, where Guru Granth Sahib Ji's seva can happen. Whether that's writing, whether that's restoring, and then secondly, there's a Gurmat Vidyalaya. So that's to make patis, kathavachiks, ragis, gatkais, and that's going to be in the name of Sant Jarnail Singh. So Gurmat Vidyalaya Sant Gyani Jarnail Singh Khalsa Pindrawale, but it's all in the memory of Baba Thakur Singh. And those things are what Babaji brought to the UK, that seva of Guruji, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and also the Vidya when they came here, and the explosion of that we talked about. Within all of that, there's also to think about the common days is have state-of-the-art sports facilities, developing a sports academy where there'll be sports pitches, martial arts, and a gym, those kinds of things, and also an education centre where, because our sanskars, we talk about Gurmat Vidya, but also worldly education. Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji are the greatest scholar. And it's about developing and helping people in those are the aspirations. They all won't happen overnight.
Sure.
A place has been located, and that place, an offer was put in, it's been accepted, and it's just going to the Sangha to say, this is our project. It was kept a bit hush-hush, because ultimately you don't want to say too much before, and now it's at a stage where it's been shared, and it was planned to be shared at Babaji's Barsi, so that's why it was a bit hush-hush, and then it's come out like that. And so we're appealing to everybody just to help out and be part of it, because other organizations can use that facility and run what they're doing from those from those places as well. So that's what the plan is. It's in its infancy at the moment, and we'll see where it goes.
That's amazing. And just for the viewers that are here, I hope you won't mind sharing. It's in Birmingham.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And if people want to support or find out more, what's the best way for them to do that, would you say?
So I think there's an email that says info@damdamedicsal.co.uk.
Okay.
And I think it'll start going out on social media.
Sure.
There's an
We
Instagram
can put a
page.
link in or something.
Yeah.
If people want to find out more, they can just email. And
That's right. And then from there, they can find out. And it's, I suppose, as time over the next, there'll be hopefully social media posts on the TV channels giving more information.
perfect.
But the initial launch was just obviously at the Sahibzade Shidi Smagam and Babaji's Barsi Smagam program.
Perfect. Anything for me?
I just want to come back to with Babaji in terms of this Vidyalaya that was dedicated to Babaji, but then also when it comes to like the Prachar Seva that you've been doing with like whether that was with Seek to Inspire or just the seva that you're doing now, was that through Babaji as well? Was that from Sodhi Ji?
So it links to all of them.
Yeah.
Because when I was sort of speaking earlier, I was talking about that. Obviously, I stayed there. I wanted to give something back. So I came, I started giving something back. I spoke to Babaji earlier about like English I mentioned it earlier, didn't I? That about English Prachar. Sodhiji was saying, do it. And then as we sort of moved on, as time sort of moved on, it was about that last year that they were in the UK, about the Prachar has to be really efficient, or, you know, you have to talk about Amrita Shakana. Why hide away from that? You have that's in the, so separate to anything else, in the path of spirituality, if we talk about that for a few minutes, one could argue, why do we need Sikhi? Because meditation happened before Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
Yeah.
So what's the speciality of Sikhi? What's the greatness of it? The greatness comes in our Mool Mantra, when we read the word Gur Prasad. We know in Gurbani, Ram Ram Karta Sab Jag Phire, Ram Na Paya Jai, that the whole world is meditating on the name of the Lord, but they don't all become one with them, because they haven't got Gur Prasad. Gur Prasad means that there's a perfect Guru, Satgur, Satnam, indestructible, perfect, complete. They completely live, they create the creation, and they perfectly live amongst the creation, permeating throughout it. And to become one with God is Gur Prasad. So, taking Amrit aligns you with a Guru.
And just to confirm, you said Gur Prasad is the blessings we get from the Guru.
Blessings we get from the Guru.
Okay.
So when the Guru allows it, then we become one.
As you mentioned earlier, we have to make the effort to give those blessings in.
That's my point. So you'll meditate on the name, you'll listen, believe, and follow their teachings, you'll keep the red, you'll take Amrit, you'll do all of those practices. Then when the Guru glances you with his grace, that Gur Prasad, that blessing happens, you become one with the Lord. All the birth and death life cycle is broken away. Only the Guru can break us from the birth and death life cycle.
And you.
Yeah, so obviously when I say, I'm assuming, aren't I? There is effort. I'm not saying that.
And you.
There is effort.
Yeah.
But what is that effort? The effort is, what teachings did the Guru give us?
Just following the instructions, right?
Following the instructions. So you got to logically, so it's back to where I was talking earlier about my internal logic is, what are they saying to do? You follow those, they will, and Babaji kind of refocused me, if you will, in that last year, refocused me. This is the problem. You know, we're talking about Sangarshan, but that fear of death, they took that fear. They said, why are you scared? It's our Raj. What are you scared of? You know, so there was a message to every one of us there. But like I said, in everything, even when Guruji speaks, you know, I always take something personal for me and what the general big picture teaching message was as well. So for me, why are you scared? We're all going to die one day. You know? And then what's the message of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji? The Adab Satkar of Gurbani. If you respect your Guru, another thing Sodhiji taught me, and just going back to Sodhiji, was the more respect you give to Gurbani, the quicker your blessings come. And you know, I can't give you anything, let's say, concrete, but my experience, my faith believes that, because I was very much a logical, scientific kind of thinking. Try it out, try something out. Like you were saying earlier, isn't it? Try it out. Let's go to India, see what happens. Try it out, and then what you get from that, it's an experiment, isn't it? You try it out, you get something, you keep doing it. So those kinds of things, that's where you get everything from. You get everything from Gurbani, you get everything from the Guru. We don't have to run after anybody else. Yes, we want those experiences with saintly people. We want blessings, because that's the nature of, that's human nature.
Hanji.
But ultimately, it's Gur Prasad. Even they have to ask the Guru first. They have to ask the Guru first. So there's a question. Do you just want to be saved at the end of your life? Or do you want to experience and enjoy the Sikhi journey in your life?
And the former is what a lot of other religions offer, right?
Yeah. Like, koi na, tusi aap kari jao, you'll
get your paradise
but
somewhere.
surely, do you want to enjoy this? You want to experience it? You want to get that bliss from this?
And I think it's important to mention, the Gurbani Chpangti on the like Hasandia Khelandia Penandia Kavandia Viche Hue Mukt.
That's right.
Like, it might still, like when I came into Sikhi as well, I think we all had this idea that part is boring, and these Amritari guys, they just sit and they just live a really boring life. But actually, we have like the most fun, right? And Guru Sahib's not saying that just have a boring life, but also like Hasandia Haske, Hasandia, Kelandia, Kelke, whilst laughing, playing, eating good food and wearing nice things, which we still get mukti, right? So Guru Sahib's covered all angles and given us literally the whole package of a spirituality, but enjoy the life as you mentioned.
So because of spirituality and meditation is abstract,
Hanji.
it's very hard for me or anybody or you, as we're all pracharaks here, aren't we? We're all trying to help and pass on knowledge that we have.
Hanji.
It's very hard to give somebody something abstract on the path of spirituality.
Yeah.
But that's what we want.
Yeah.
You can't give it really.
They need to experience it for themselves because it's subjective, right?
You have to experience it for yourself. What a saint can do, a Gursikh, they can either join you with themselves or they can join you with the Guru. And all throughout everything, Baba Thakur Singh had joined everybody and anybody that I visualized and myself with the Guru.
Hanji.
They joined with the Guru, and if we join with the Guru, we'll take those blessings. What they do, what I was saying, there's a thing that, it's another analogy. I have these little analogies. So when you go to when you're a little kid, if you say, and you go to a fun fair for the first time, your parent is probably holding your hand. You can't see anything because you're down here and everybody's up here, height-wise, aren't they? So what do people do? They put the kids on the shoulders. So another thing, is ask them, put me on your shoulders for a little bit.
Let me see what's going on.
Just show me a little bit and then just put me back down.
But that's enough to keep the kid going, right?
It's enough to keep the kid going,
Yeah.
isn't it? So you gotta. That's what I learned from that sangat. These little things that allow me to keep going. They taught me how to love the Guru. Love is what is love of the Guru? They taught me that.
Right.
They taught me that love. This is how you love. This is how you build that relationship.
Hanji.
I'm nothing without them. And I go back, I named everybody, I told you, isn't it? My parents, it's in the hand of the parents first. Because if the parents, like you talked about yours, mine, isn't it? And if this, not to say you can't be saved, but if they set you up, they've got you going.
That first forceful
First.
bit that we
Bhagat
don't get.
Faridaji's mother, isn't it? She's giving him the sweets to keep him going, and then he gets it. The first one is the mother. The father. Then you need people that you meet, the singing Canada who give me that Gutka Sahib, that moved me from, even the Muslim gave me blessings. Because I went to the library and bought, he was sent by God for me to buy those things. I try not to, they never discriminated against anyone. I try not to, sometimes when you're a pracharak and when you've been taught to say it as it is, don't lie in Maharaj's Hajuri, don't sugarcoat Sikhi. That can offend people.
Hanji.
Genuinely, I don't want to offend anybody because I know if you offend somebody, it causes problems to your spirituality journey. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because that is going to cause my personal journey obstacles. But people take it that way because everybody feels that this person's having a go at that person and on those kinds of things. Whatever organization, you mentioned the Maryada early, isn't it? And whatever you believe in, be the best at it. Don't dilute that Maryada. That's all I want to propagate. Whatever your belief set is, don't dilute it. Live it to the maximum. Experience the Sikhi, enjoy the Sikhi. That bliss, like they say, they're boring. That boringness, because we see it with these eyes, we see somebody just sat there for hours on end. It looks boring. How can they sit for that many hours? How can they sit for that many hours? But if you ask Guru Gobind Singh Ji, I'm about to sit down and do this Santhya. Look, don't get me wrong. At the start, I used to find it difficult to sit in that Santhya and read for those hours. But I just felt, I just kept getting drummed. You got to do it. What are you here for? I count down the days, like if somebody's in prison, put the cross, 5 days gone, this many days gone. You do have a period of that. I had a period of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie and make it like, look how great this. There was a period of that. But the effect starts happening. You forget about all of that. Then now it's like a dream. It's like I was in a dream somewhere. I don't believe it's reality. I can't believe that was reality anymore because it happened so long ago and it was just a dream. I remember when I came off the plane, it was just like my life's back to normal again. I thought, when I came back from India that first time and I thought, this dream's over. The dream's over.
You've woken up.
And you got to enjoy. So that person who sat doing the part, he or she is enjoying themselves. That might be better than the quick fix they get from the world. That's an eternal fix. Ek Guru hi douga. Guru Gobind Singh Ji is going to give us that. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is going to give us that. Sri Guru Khalsa is going to give us that. Itihas has given many examples where Banda Singh Bahadur, the greatest Gursikh, essentially, when he's being sent, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
But what happens? Forgot to follow the Guru's teachings.
Hanji.
Guru Prasad nahi hoya. But Shidi chalo, Pati maybe, Maharaj, or Shidi karke, some of that got maafed. But Shidi poni pai, hai na?
Hanji.
So those things with your question, going back to that, Rayat Maryada, Gurbani da Satkar, Amrit Shikona, Gurbani de Mukh Arth Padhaune, Sikhone, that comes from them. That comes from Baba Thakur Singh. You guys know, I mean, I'm not trying to, there's many people in different organizations that have come and I've tried to help them get into the stage and do katha and all the rest of it. That's what my sort of current thing is. I do Santhya, still give Santhya to a group. I just keep that going every so often. So I don't do it in mass like others do, but I still keep that going, still teach anybody who wants to do katha. You know, I want other people to do it. I want other people to do it. That's really what I want. No, I'm getting really old, and like I said, I'm a translator. I got no knowledge. Just passing. Just I can translate. That's all I can do.
And just one other seva, Gyaniji, that you do that you mentioned earlier was the Panch Pyaradi seva as well. And when did that start then specifically? Was it Babaji that gave you the seva?
No, to be honest with you, it wasn't Babaji. But because of that job, Sahib, it kind of allowed me to do it. Because I probably wouldn't have got, like, because it was only a few weeks after that, then I started doing it. It was only a few weeks after that.
Was it a desire for you to do it, or did it just come about itself?
It just kind of came about. I'm not going to lie and say there was no desire. I'm completely free from desires. When we look at different people, we all get desires, don't we? I'd love to do that. Like I told you, I wanted to be a Granthi because I used to look at the Granthis and think, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
But I haven't learned my Santhya yet. I can't do the Seva yet. But it was a desire to, I want to do that one day. I want to be able to do that one day. So there was desire there, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't that I was chased it and said, put me in, or made a big thing of it. It would just happened.
Hanji.
It happened. Sodhiji spoke to me about, the food, you got to, you sure? Are you sure you can? Because, and one thing, then when I came back to England, that dream, I thought to myself, I'm not going to go back to my old ways. What if you want to build on something, there's some things we can't do here in terms of, like sand and stuff like that, isn't it? Like data and stuff like that. I know some people do use sand, but there's some things, as a family person, they're harder to do, especially when you got young kids. But as much as you can keep, I sort of kept it. There was a time, actually, I'll tell you this, another thing linked to Babaji again. There was a time when they used to, that last year when they came, they used to go to different people's houses. Obviously, as we know, they do, don't they? And different people, that was the time where, sort of like the first few years, it was always Prashad at someone's house. By that time, pizzas have been introduced, beans and chips and all these kind of things. And that's going to be frozen. So I didn't eat frozen foods at that time. I didn't eat any processed foods. And sometimes I used to stay hungry, and Baba used to give me food. That was just a personal thing between, they knew. But then I started having this, I started thinking to myself, it's only frozen. It's not as if it's, I start thinking that, like, this is, you struggle with it, isn't it? And you think to yourself, and people fill your ears, they start telling you, it's peer pressure, isn't it? I started getting peer pressure. There's nothing wrong with doing this, going, je tu abhi shak lunga, wo bhi shak lunga. Don't go to a restaurant, that's fine, we understand that. But if you have frozen chips, what's wrong with that? For instance, or can of beans, what's wrong with that? Or frozen pizza, what's wrong with that? Or cheese, or, those kind of things. So when you get a lot of peer pressure, you start thinking, don't you? That's human nature. So I started thinking. And then what they started doing in the houses we went, like somebody put a thali down, they'd say, pick up that thali. He doesn't eat out. Don't give it to him. And then they used to give me some of their food. I remember even coming back from that camp, what I was telling you when they asked about the Amrit, they had matiyaiya. And they were about to give me a matiyai, and they go, nahi, ye bazaar diya, tu nahi shakda, you can't have this. And then they call for another one and say, ek kar diya, shak. So they started doing those things with me. And so I felt shame, if you will, thinking, mere man de vich kiya, and they want me to stay like this.
Would you say that was like a support mechanism then as well?
Yeah, support, blessing, teaching, everything. They started saying, "Idi thali chakko." He's not eating. Idi thali chukka. Then when we went to India, they started saying to those Mahapurushas that were there in that program. I don't know if I mentioned it on camera. We were talking earlier, weren't we? There was a program there. We talked about the doll and the case. But there they started telling those Mahapurushas, a few of us were there from England. They were saying, hey, these are the things that do Panj Pyare Seva in England. This is the rate they keep there. So again, I'm in that Shanka mode. Everywhere I'm going, they're telling everybody. He doesn't eat out. So can't back away from that then, can I?
And it also gives you a bit of reassurance, I guess, as well, right?
That's right. And then there was the last time I ever met them was in Patiala. They had a tour in Patiala. After that, October, they used to have a smagam at the end of October in Patiala. So another little story. These are personal stories. They're not nothing major things. So I can share these. I keep it. As you guys know, you've been asking me for a while. Even a lot of people, I don't share anything personally because if you kona ne sanu dassya what I learned from them, gupt rakho.
Hanji.
Hana. Apa Gurmani di pangti nahi hondi. Jinn har paya tena shapaya. You know, Maharaj kehde bhi, whatever you on your path, you don't need to advertise everything.
Hanji.
But some people, when they talk about that, what happens nowadays, Jinn har paya tena shapaya, they print it out. Sanu ye ho gaya. Look how great we are. About being gupt, I learnt from them. They didn't tell anybody about what are they. About somebody asked them for naam. They go, "मैं थोड़ा देना नाम, तो पंज प्यारे तो जाके मांग लो." पर ओदी when he asked for it, वो बचन भी करता, पर वो बानी पढ़न लग गया.
So it happened anyway, right?
So it happened anyway.
Yeah.
Because like I said, whatever you ask for, if you're in that seva and sangat, the seva da phal mil janda si. Seva da phal mil janda si. Sorry, so I forgot what I was saying.
Was it Patiala?
Patiala. The last time I sort of met them, they talked about this right. That was the last thing they talked about with me. With a few not the last thing, but in the day of the last day, I sort of met them. The funny story was this. That's what I was going to tell you. So, my wife is from India. A lot of people know that, Hannah. And obviously, when you apply for the visa, you take all your documents. Our marriage certificate, they kept the original at the embassy. They gave her the photocopy. And she just brought whatever they gave her. That she didn't ask, because, in that situation, you don't really ask questions. You just take whatever they give you. So when we came back here, it was the photocopy of the marriage certificate. So whatever we needed to do, like if she needed driving license, a national insurance, I used to get problems. They say, some of them would give us it. And for driving license, said, we need the original. I didn't have the original. So where am I going to get the original from? So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go to India, you're going to have to go through that process. And because I got married in India, so get the marriage certificate from the courts. It's going to be like, I don't know how long this is going to take. So I go to Patiala, and normally I didn't worry about Babaji saying anything to me. When people used to be scared, the shutti mangani hai. And the things that were staying longer term. With me, I was in and out, so it wasn't about shutti Babaji I'm going back to Leeds, or Babaji I'm going, I've got to fly back to England now, my holidays are over, or whatever. But that time I felt fear inside of me. I don't know why, but I just felt fear. So what I did was I called my friend, I called the driver to come, and I thought I'm going to just be clever, kind of thing, and say, Babaji, I'm going, the car's here, I'm off.
Was this to go get the marriage certificate?
Yeah, because the last few days I wanted to get the marriage certificate.
Okay.
Yeah, to get the marriage certificate. And they, like normally, I was telling you earlier that like sometimes they would just say to me, stay, be up ardas karni hai, like Gyan Kirna we were talking about earlier. Gyani Preetam Singh have written the Jeevani of Sant Gurbachan Singh. Babaji asked them to write that Jeevani. They asked a few of us to stay up ardas karni, deg banauni hai. So I was into that. People see that with me now. I was into that in those days. Deg banao, ardas kar, all that system. I was part of that then. So it just carried on through in the camps, making all those things. That's what I'm saying. Everything comes from that experience. And they that day I called the car. They started saying to me, they started saying to me, you're leaving me now. You're leaving me. This is the last time I ever met them. I don't really share this, but they started saying to me, you're leaving me now. Tum chhad challe mainu. Tum vadda banda hai. Tu England aaya. You're leaving me to go back to England. And you felt sharam, isn't it? And I just thought, I can't leave now. I can't leave now. I went outside to the car. I said, Baba ji, main gaddi aayi si, I better just tell him to go back. Said to the gaddi wala, don't worry, I'll pay you, just go back.
Mm.
You know. So he went back. I stayed there for 4 or 5 days. That was my last 4 or 5 days with them. Got real enjoyment in that last period. They said to the family there, like I said about the red, that's what we're talking about. He doesn't eat out. They stamped all of that red. You stick to. You're gonna keep that.
Mm.
So I just hope that I just stick to those things. If your mother tells you to do something, you stick to it.
Mm.
That's all it is. I would just want to stick to what they sort of the experience I had with it, because up until now they've been successful in my. Because having said all of this, there's something bigger than all of this, which we started off. It's Sikhi. It's the journey of becoming one with God, and all of these things that or majority of the things we talked about are just my day-to-day life and all that kind of thing. Like I said, I'm not nobody special. I genuinely believe that, you know. But all those experiences at the be all and end all be apa Sikhi kamani hai,
Hanji.
and they're worthless if there's no Sikhi.
Hanji.
So they've been successful in my progression up until now. So therefore I continue with that. And then the yatre, that's an important, like, so we don't get to see this type of saint anymore.
Mm.
I started off with Baba Santokh Singh, and I said I wanted actually to take the Sangat to meet them, but they left the world before that first yatra.
Hanji.
They left the world before that first yatra, but we still went there to have langar from there, because they said to me, "Ithe langar shakana ithe aage." But I wanted the Sangat to meet them, just to see, look, this is what Gursikhi is. You know, they're like picking everybody's shoes up, they're wiping, they're touching your feet, you know. So there's some sadhus in the world that I felt, these guys, you know, if I say like in simple kind of English words, special Gursikhs. And then now sare poojani ke nahi, what that means, they're worthy of respect.
Hanji.
But I haven't seen anybody like that in my life, and even they all say the same to me. They say there's nobody like them. Whatever Jathebandi they were from, they say there's nobody like them. Crores ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ, crore is 10 million. Crore ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਲ 10 million years ਬਾਅਦ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਧੂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ on this world. So that logically fits in my mind, thinking that's why Sant Kartar Sant Jarnail Singh was saying they're in charge. Because then you could argue that 10 million years, then isn't nobody else a Brahmgyani or anything like that. But there's a Visheshta. There's a Visheshta. And these sadhus that I meet, they all tell me that. They all tell me those things. So basically that's everything focuses back to Sikhi. So all those experiences is to help. They helped me in my journey, and I hope till the last breath, those things that they assigned for me to do, I continue doing those things, because I believe they're the things that have been successful in my spiritual progression, and they'll continue to be successful. And those things is what I share to everybody.
Hanji.
When I meet them one-to-one, this first time I got to thank you guys. You come all this way.
No, thanks as well as.
Because I don't really like to share these things, because it's not about me. But I've done it on a podcast. Normally one-to-one I share some of these things, because it's about, don't hide anything. Give everything. There are ustads that give everything. There are ustads that don't give you everything. They give you 50%, 90%, because they always want to be, I still got to be better than, that's martial arts ustads are like that as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they want to be top dog.
They want to stay at the top because the student might end up beating them one day. But what I learned from Babaji and Sodhiji, they gave everything. Sodhiji never kept anything back. And so I just try with anybody and everybody who I come across, I'll give them everything.
Just moving on to a slightly different topic, and looking towards the future now. And it'd be wrong for us not to tap into your experience and your wisdom with regards to see what you've been doing, obviously predominantly in the UK, but also in Punjab as well. We wanted to ask you, based on your experiences in Punjab, in the UK and Punjab, what would you say are the biggest obstacles for the current generation within the UK in terms of Sikhi Prachar and letting Sikhi flourish? Obviously, it's Guru's Kirpa that's obviously going to orchestrate that. But in terms of our efforts, and what would you say that, if I had to ask you, the next year, 5, 10-year plan needs to be for the youth of England to actually get the cushion of Guru Sahib and make the best effort at this that we can? And then we'll talk about Punjab after.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the be-all and end-all of giving the pathway. But I think the worries that we have, we get this narrative where we Sikhi nu khatam karna. We get that narrative, isn't it?
As in people are trying to destroy Sikhi.
Destroy Sikhi.
Yeah.
That started. So when you listen to Itihas, Prachar and different things, and people talk about that, that was from the time of when Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji rejected the Janu. They said from there that Irqa developed, and everybody used to try and belittle the Gurus. Then Guru Gobind Singh Ji's times, be Devi di puja karo, the deities, worship them. But we are puja akal ki. Parcha shabad ka, didar khalse ka. We don't worship. We respect deities. We respect prophets. We don't worship them. And because that's what the Gurus did. But because of that, all through time, I was reading, I don't read books, but I was reading this passage from somewhere where after 1947, I think, I don't want to become political here, but it's a quote from his own book, Oxford University Press book that he released in it said 1980 where I looked at the reference. I wanted to see where's this quote come from. And it's Nehru, who was the first Prime Minister of India.
Yeah.
There's a quote in there, I can't remember it now, I read it a while back, something about be jude. We don't want these jude to flourish. We don't want beards to flourish.
It's with regards to, I think it was someone in Turkey or Afghanistan.
It's something with Afghanistan.
Yeah, it was beards.
Beards, isn't it?
And he's basically saying that people have to cut with their beards, and he's like, oh, I love the fact that they're doing that. I'm not against top knots and beards, but I'd love to see this as well.
That kind of stuff, isn't it? So that's turning Sikh into a secular type of faith. There's nothing wrong with a secular belief if that's what you believe in. But the Sikhis' true values, you have to keep them. The first is Kes Guru de Morne. That doesn't mean that we disrespect people in our family. I told you at the start, my dad was a Monna.
Yeah.
I'm certainly of the viewpoint, if you give love to your family, they're more likely to come into Sikhi rather than if you take Amrit and you start having a go at your parents or your brothers or your siblings and start having a go at them, they're more likely to reject it. You give them love, they'll come in. So the dangers are, because we are now in a Western world and the Western society is developed. So, I mean, it's good. This is all utilized for us. There's social media, there's phones, there's AI, there's all this thing going on that 20 years ago, so rapidly in 20 years, 10 years, everything's moved so quick. So Sikhi will be forgotten because we'll attach ourselves with those systems.
Just on that note of Kes, I'm just thinking back to that doll actually that you mentioned earlier. What message or inspiration would you give to people that want to keep their Kes in particular, as you've mentioned, is Guru's more the stamp of the Guru, but are struggling with Western standards? And also on that point, I know you've been quite vocal about our duty as Singhs in camps recently, and how sometimes we get it wrong, and our Bibiyan, the females in our generations are scared of keeping Kes because of the way that we act sometimes.
So there's a school of thought, because in some of our likhna, in some of our writings, historical writings, and then how they've been translated, we talk about the juda, like you don't cut your juda, kantini loni. These are some of the writtens, kantini loni. So what people have sort of taken that to literally, that you don't cut your juda with a kanchi, but you can disrespect any other part of your case. Does that make sense? But that defeats the whole purpose. And Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji say, Nar manukha nu ek nidana. Nar, all humans. Manuk, all humans. No ek nidana is a treasure. Everybody gets the same treasure. We can get naam. Everybody, male, female, whatever caste, doesn't matter. So you have to follow that path to go into that. So the fight, the battle, if you will, is with peer pressure, culture. I don't want to use the word Western culture, because even that's, everything evolves.
You could argue in Punjab.
Because you could argue Punjab, the culture's changed now. To help with all of those things, that's where I was talking to Sikh sites, is community building. You have to be a community and you have to respect each other, and the responsibility on the males not to pressurize our females to do with bodily hair, for instance. Because it's us who pressurize them to force them to do that. So kanchini loni, okay, upparna case cutting parvatte, you can cut your eyebrows and those kinds of things, you know. And that peer pressure causes our females of our Qawm to go astray. There would have been a time when a female, their child was cut and they were wearing a necklace of their children. There was a time when females are reading Sawa Lakh Japji Sahib de Part. We talked about Singhs. There's Bibiyan that have done it as well.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, Bhai Amreek Singh Singhani, Shaheed Bhai Amreek Singh, they've done Sawa Lakh Japji Sahib de Part.
Very good.
She spent many years doing seva in Tire Patre. You know, just because it's just come into my head, we would, like you mentioned, that she used to do seva of Gyani Mohan Singh, make their lassi every day for many years.
Wow.
She used to make it. And so there's Bibiyan there as well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But they uphold the values of Gursikhi. It's our Singh's responsibility to allow them to flourish.
What does that look like in terms of work, or I'd say young Singhs? What does that mean practically in Sikh spaces and day to day? What do we need to start doing? What do we need to change?
Some females might disagree with what I'm saying, because that seems like masculine, that we're allowing them to.
We're the gatekeepers.
And they're not allowing them to flourish themselves.
Of course.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we don't want to be knocking them.
Yeah.
That's what
100%.
I mean. But females, what that means is they have to come together as a community, and they've got to celebrate that fact. They've got to celebrate that. A lot of this facial hair in this country is to do with the hormones and the foods we eat.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
Hanji.
It's hormones imbalance because of the processed foods we eat, the chemicals we're eating. Many years ago, there was no chemicals. You know, did we hear of cancer 200 years ago?
Yeah.
Or this kind of bamari? They might have well been, but, you know, these chemicals, free radicals that, you know, they cause these things, don't they?
Would you say also
But it's going to be very hard to get to that. It's easy for me to say, karo.
Yeah.
No one's going to get to that, are they? Eating simply, eating, you know, going off the food that we have. You know, who's going to do that?
Hanji.
So the first step is what you said, safe spaces, males and females. But the male and female angle is such that it's very difficult, Sikhi, because if, again, this might sound misogynistic. I don't mean it in that way.
Hanji.
In our darbars, we have males and females sitting separately.
Yeah.
But that was set up many, many years ago. It wasn't set up by us now.
Yeah.
There's a reason behind that. Because of attraction.
Hanji. Just
And-
keep that respect. Yeah.
So keeping that respect, isn't it? So we got to keep that respect. So we got to view the opposites as our mothers, sisters and daughters. Bhai Gurdas Sahib ji say it.
Hanji.
Dekh paraiyan changiyan, mama bhena tiya jane.
Hanji.
If you take the earth of paraiyan as somebody that's not sick, so they're our only sisters. That means we can do everything else with our own. You know, there was a time when Sahibzada Ajit Singh and the Jathe of Singhs, even post Guruji's time, would save all these women that were kidnapped.
Hanji.
And they would fall, marry as. They go, nahi aap uccha succha jeevan ha.
You hear of one of the Baba Deep Singh, someone coming to him and they're like, all these beautiful women were in front of you. Did you not get attracted? And his Baba Deep Singh said, I didn't even look at them once. And I didn't even know how beautiful they were because they were neonic.
That's right. And so it's a bigger, there's no easy solution is what I'm saying.
What with
There's a
regards
bit,
to-
we need to do safe spaces. They need to be managed in the sense that we don't cause another problem where we start, you know, intermingling too much and it causes then a relationship problem which shouldn't
Yeah.
be in our own, but then at the same time allowing to have their safe spaces and doing those things.
Another thing that creeps up, and we spoke about this before, is like you'd have Amritari Singhs that want BBR to look a specific way, or maybe we want BB that doesn't wear the star. And
I mean, there's no BB here, but
Yeah.
there'll be BB that watch this.
Hanji.
And I'm honestly trying to speak on their behalf here.
Yeah.
Why do Amritari people want to do that? Because that's what we see in a film.
Hanji.
So we've been conditioned.
Yeah.
So we want our spouse to look like that.
Yeah.
So who's controlling us?
Hanji.
The film is.
Yeah.
The film's controlling us.
Hanji.
You know, I know this definitely about Sant Jarnail Singh
Hanji.
and even Baba Thakur Singh and you know, prior to that, but also different Nihang Singh Jathibandiyan. They would say they wouldn't go to houses where there were TVs, 70s, 60s and stuff like that when this TV started coming out. They wouldn't go to those houses.
Hanji.
There was a friend of mine, he Nihang Singh Siga years ago, 20 years ago. They India Amritsar gaya si. He's from England. And he came back and he said, I can't watch TV anymore. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, because when I was doing Sangha, they said, "Ek kharab te nu karuga." I'd say, but I'm not saying I don't watch TV, but let's unpick what that means.
Hanji.
How is it going to kharab us? Because we're going to condition our mind and that's what we're going to expect. And so that disrespects our sisters, our mothers, our daughters.
It's like the West's view is imposed on us. I was speaking to Gurkeet Singh in his recent tour, and he was telling us that even today in Kazakhstan, a woman with a unibrow is seen as the most beautiful. So it depends on, I guess, whatever
culture.
standards, whatever standards are forced upon us. And obviously, in Gursikhi, we're told that, you know, the most powerful women are those that have kept to the Guru's hukam and, you know, are doing their seva and are blossoming in that sense. But then obviously we're fighting against that with regards to what the West is imposing on us. So I guess maybe just us for the young things that are going to be getting married soon, it's important for us to
Not watch TV.
don't want to just TV sara kuch band. But even in terms of social media, be careful of how things are portraying.
Yeah, because it's not TVs anymore. You see everything on your phone.
The advertisement boards.
Yeah, it's just everywhere. It's very difficult.
Now as well.
It's very difficult. So you got to
And as you said, we should, like, if there's a BB who's stayed in Riyadh, like has forgotten what the world's saying and stuck to Guru Gobind Singh Ji's hukam, then we need to go out of our way to celebrate that, right? In whichever way we can.
You know, I say this kind of stuff, and another thing I learned: practice what you preach. You know, I'm not saying this stuff because I don't believe in it
Hanji.
or trying to be the high moral person. I believe in it because that's what I was taught.
Hanji.
But the difficulty is, we in our community now, this thing said to me, "You're too much." You know, too much. Leave it. Chill out. Let's do this. Let's do that. What's it going to create in our qawm, in our next generation?
100%.
ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮਰ ਜਾਣਾ. What's going to happen to them?
Hanji.
ਫਿਰ ਉਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਚ ਆਉਣਗੇ because ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ where we do pop.
Yeah.
ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡੇ our lineages are going to become like that.
Hanji.
Whereas if you have Gursikhi in your lineage, you're going to get Gursikhs. You're going to get Gursikhs. They're going to bless you. They're going to take you. They're going to take you. Even if you don't get to such kind, your child might take you there because of their seva.
Good insurance policy to have.
You know, so you gotta set the surroundings right for your children.
Hanji.
It's very, very important, and there needs to be that sort of push, because it doesn't, like, for instance, in the Purane Raitaname, it says you shouldn't wear henna. So what does that mean in the modern day? You could apply that to makeup then, couldn't you? I mean, somebody might say literally, no, it doesn't mean makeup because it doesn't say makeup, it says henna.
Yeah.
So it's how literal and where do you want to sort of take these things?
And I think it's important to, like he said with your father, just because he's not Kesatari, doesn't mean we shun them.
Yeah.
So I think this is quite a delicate balance. If there are BBL that are coming to spaces where they're not quite, they're still walking on that path.
Yeah,
because they're not.
They're your sisters. We have to take them in.
Hanji. Even if they're cutting their case, so they're living a specific way. Obviously, we need to show them pyar.
We have to take them all in.
Hanji.
We have to take them all in, and it may be that they don't ever take Amrit.
Hanji.
Par ਸਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਭਲਾ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਆ.
And as they know, there's always a place for them to come back home, है ना?
ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਦੂਗੀ.
ਹਾਂਜੀ.
ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਉਹ ਚੰਗਾ ਥਾਂ ਹੀ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ.
ਹਾਂਜੀ.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿਖਾਇਓ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸ਼ਬਦ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਸੋਨੇ ਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਘਰ ਕੰਚਨ ਦੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ, ਹਨਾ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ.
ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸਿਖਾਉਣ ਨਾਲ. So we gotta embrace everybody.
ਹਾਂਜੀ.
You gotta embrace everybody.
And just on the Punjab, are there any words of wisdom from yourself in terms of the youth? What should our focus be in terms of organizing, strategizing as a bunch within the UK, and what should we really start to focus on and hone in on if you were to give your advice to the next generation?
Many people already do seva in Punjab now, isn't there? There's different groups now over the last 5-6 years. ਕੋਈ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਦੂਜੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੇ, whatever. People are doing their own thing, aren't they? You know, the biggest issue in Punjab currently is nashe.
Yeah.
Is drugs. The drugs have gone so bad, that kids are doing it. Women elderly are the dealers.
Yeah.
The women elderly of the village would be the respectable woman that you'd go to for advice, and all those now they're some of those are dealing. How are you going to rid that? There needs to be a complete system narrative change. It's very difficult to do that as individuals. Because you get maligned as being, against the system, or against the rule of law, or against. You can stay in the rule of law and still do everything.
Yeah.
But they won't let you because of that narrative. I said, Sikhan nu khatam karna kisi tarike naal. They want to be seen as they're us. They're for us. They're not for anybody else. They can't. There's all these narratives, but one day somebody's going to have to give that back. Somebody's going to have to pay the lekha for that. Our job is just to share it. Sometimes a hard message. I apologize if I offend anybody, but it's pala karan da ya. Pala karan da kaam sada. Hopefully it helps somebody. If they don't, then we have this quality which is called upekya. Be chalo jaan dit karke. So I'll say what I want to say to somebody. If they don't, then what can I do? I've done my duty. Ode karm ne or his situation or nahi manne. What can I do? But then they become negative, and then they take. So the nasha is a big thing. There's also there's some talk of changing the Punjabiness of the Punjabis. I don't know if that's like a conspiracy theory or DNA
change
changes,
culture.
change the mixing DNAs, and the people talk about that kind of stuff as well. The narrative of the 1970s, cultism is coming back. So I wouldn't put any religion there, because people in the media might say it's a religion, you're speaking against a religion. It's not about a religion, it's about cult religions. We've had cultism in Sikhi Swaroop. So you can have cultism in Christian Swaroop, in Muslim Swaroop, in Hindu Swaroop. Cultism is a big problem in Punjab, in those different faiths, because they sell themselves as that faith, but actually they're not following that faith. We've grown up in this country. We know what those Western faiths we get taught in school. We know what they are. When you hear people in India telling you what these faiths are, it's something totally different.
You mentioned Christian conversion is a big one at the moment in Punjab.
Yeah,
right?
but it's not even Catholic.
Yeah.
Roman Catholic, or I don't know if that's Church of England might disrespect. I don't mean it in that way. I'm just saying it's not a mainstream.
Yeah. It's a Christian cult.
Yeah, it's those kind of cults. Where they'll touch your hand, you're saved, all your diseases are cured, and all this kind of. That's not in Sikhi. That's not in their faiths neither. And all those kinds of things, and they set up actors and different things are going on. That are going on in Punjab, but people are in a state of need. So they're going to join a cult, aren't they? Because there's nothing else there. When there's on the other side, it's drugs. So in every angle, this is what's happening. So then what does that mean? If we can't do anything, just while I'm talking, if we can't do anything in Punjab, then maybe it's our duty to uphold the values here. Uphold the values here, and maybe people here can be the inspiration of people in Punjab.
I've seen that, obviously, with Guru Kirpa. Just for the viewers, there's a camp that a few things under the name of Lions MMA have been running. I've been, on Gyaniji, you've been as well. And one of my experiences from that camp about Punjab, and we talked about this earlier, was that the people of Punjab just need a spark. The Sikhi is always there, and it's literally in the soil, in the blood, in the Bani, in the DNA. And one instance that comes to mind whilst you were speaking is, I think it's about 3 years ago, we were at Anandpur Sahib doing a camp. And there was I think I've mentioned this before on other podcasts, there was a Bani Kant competition for the kids. And there was a girl whose name was Komalpreet Kaur. And she had 32 Banis off by heart, which for me speaks volumes. And I remember going to the camp, and just by us being there, like these Valetis, these people from England to come, and they looked at us to think, you guys are living in the place we want to go, but you look like that. And the fact that we were in Barnet and in Sikhi Swaroop, we didn't need to say anything. That was the prachar itself. So I think, like you were saying, one of the things we can do is just literally go and show love to our people. And I think once they see that Sikhi's cool and these guys are out there doing Sikhi, then that's a massive part of prachar in itself.
Yeah, and actually coming out here is actually everybody wants to be a Sikh out here.
Yeah, which is crazy for them, right?
So then it helps them to think, actually, we could do that here. We can do that here. Because if we follow the teaching of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, if Amar Shakange, Ratna Rakhange, Marg te Turange, then we're more likely to get victory in any kind of situation that we're in. Safalta hundi hai na. Jabla Khalsa Rahe Niyara. We got to remain Niyara too. We can't follow deities. We can't say that we get our Shaktiyan from them or our powers from them. We got many Sakhi of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, with the Devi, the deities sweeping up outside their house in Kartarpur Sahib. Varun Devata, basically the angel of the water. There was one who did a Shankar that Maharaj is going to do a Shnan. They might be doing puja of the water angel. And he came out and said, no, I'm doing puja of him. I want him to come here and bathe in so I get blessed. There's multiple. And then even in Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji's times, when they put that thing about in Naina Devi, they misconstrue that Sakhi and say Maharaj went to worship the goddess, but actually no, they were just jaharing a pakhanda and saying actually it's in our own hands. You know, everything is in our own hands. The Khalsa are going to be purged from here. They are the way forward. We're losing those things. And that narrative's throwing in. And so it's very easy to throw something to sort of wobble everything, and then everybody goes on at each other, and we lose touch with actually what's going on.
I know we've been speaking for a long time, and it's been amazing. But I think just one thing as we get towards the end, for a listener who's maybe new into Sikhi and has taken a lot of inspiration from this, who is thinking, one, they want to develop themselves spiritually, but also they want to do something for the Panth, and they're sitting in Birmingham or Leeds or London. What would your advice be for their next steps to be?
Well, if they don't, they need to learn our history, modern day history and olden day history, if you will. From there, they will realize what's happening.
Hanji.
And they'll realize what's becoming. And if they are lawyers, they might be able to help somebody, being a human rights lawyer. If they are good with computers, they might be able to help on computer, with a computer platform to get the right message out on a social media platform, or set up a system where bots are not feeding everything, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
When the CRCB, the Canadian government are saying,
they
haven't shown us the proof yet, but they're saying it, aren't they?
Yeah.
That there was something linked with an Indian assassination.
Yeah.
But when that went out on social media, you look at the names that are giving the responses. Are they all bots? Are they the genuine people? So
Indian IT cells.
What's going on? I'm not having to go at the Indian government. Obviously, the governments have to deal with that, and we'll find out more information as it comes to light. What actually happened, what didn't, and what did happen.
Yeah.
But if you've got those kinds of worldly skills, utilize them to help our Qawm. If you have Sikhi skills, you can spread the message of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. If, yes, we have to realize that there are different viewpoints now.
Hanji.
But then be perfect in that viewpoint. Don't be half-hearted in it. Don't sell the viewpoint, but be diluted when you're actually doing it. So which actually then has a negative effect on the person who you've then propagated that to.
I'd also add that don't think your viewpoint is the only viewpoint as well.
Yeah. And that's right. And that's what I'm saying. We've got multiple viewpoints now. We're gonna have to coexist.
Hanji.
We're gonna have to coexist. Me saying this is my viewpoint doesn't mean I'm coming from ego in saying that.
Yeah.
I'm saying, as you've heard now these last few hours, is the journey I've been on. It's worked for me.
Hanji.
And the person can only tell you what works for them.
And in a way, that's what was put in your path, right?
Yeah, and that's it. And it's worked for me. So I'm passing that message on. I'm not holding anything back. If somebody likes it, fine. If somebody doesn't like it, that's fine. But don't do something half-hearted. Don't dilute what you're portraying. Don't dilute it. Because when we dilute it, that's where we're going to get this issue in the world where it's going to be all half-hearted.
And VG spoke a lot about in terms of like someone coming into Sikhi, and when when everyone comes into Sikhi, a lot of times there's a lot of inspiration from people around us, and what ends up happening is that in most cases somebody is blessed with Amrit, but we put so much energy into getting people to that point, Amar Shakana, but Amar Shakana Kabad, what tends to happen is that people kind of stray off.
Yeah, that's the Nama Janam, isn't it? That's a new beginning.
Yeah. So then what can we do there in terms of keeping up? Because
it's important on the basic level of Sikhi that the Panjikakar, the 5 Ks as we say in English, are kept. It's important that the 7 Banis that we've been given, they are kept. It's important that the 4 Bajjar Karata are refrained from. And it's important that we stay away from joot and choot, falseness and impurity. That's a very basic starting point. From there, everything will come. From there, everything will come. I say to people, somebody says to me, I can't wake up at Amrit Vela. Not to say I'm against Amrit Vela. I've talked about different examples here, but if they can't wake up, why? I don't want them to get depressed over it.
Hanji.
फिर वो पार्टी ना करन because they depressed over it.
Yeah.
Wake up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. 9 बजे भी उठ खड़े पाठ करो.
Just keep that as a minimum, right?
Yeah, भी पाठ हो 5-7 बाणी करो every day. जे 10 बजे भी उठे. Obviously that's not the pinnacle, and we're trying to get better than that. But it's better than not waking up, staying in bed till 12, 1 o'clock and say, blooming heck, I ain't done nothing. and you just beat yourself up in bed.
Hanji.
That's part of anxiety. That's what we do, don't we? Anxiety. I know everybody goes through it in different ways. They'll stay in bed longer, beat themselves up over it, but still won't get out of bed. By that time, it's like 12, 1 o'clock. Then there's no point doing your nitrim in your mind because you think, what's the point now? It's in the afternoon.
So you're better off at 10 o'clock thinking, chalo, I didn't get up Amrital today. The least I can do is my nitrim, right?
That's right.
Inak takara.
That's it. And once you get into that habit, that will all start developing. I gave you my example, isn't it? You know, I told you, I was ill one day, I woke up at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sometimes I woke up just to test Babaji out. I woke up at 12:30.
Yeah.
It'll happen naturally.
I think one phrase I learned when I was in teaching actually is you gotta build on the small wins. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
If you're waking up at 10 a.m. and 3 a.m. is too early for you at the moment, then chal nobody or to do it and holy just.
Yeah, that's right.
I think-
Simran Sham nu kar lo.
Yeah.
If you want to do Simran and you think, I've missed Amrita Vela, so I can't do Simran now because that's an Amrita Vela thing. Do it before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's still Shanti to ho hi jandi hai.
Make sure it's done, right?
Yeah, Shanti to ho hi jandi hai. Adha ghanta kar lo, 10-15 minute kar lo. You'll get into the habit where you'll start waking up because the Simran that you do before you go to sleep will keep going in your sleep and it'll wake you up to do it.
Hanji.
Because that was something that we were speaking about with another Guru Sikh, that we have to almost normalize that, you know, if we're going to be Amritari for the next, hopefully, you know, for the rest of our lives, then there are going to be difficult times as well. And I'm sure
100%.
you've seen that a lot, maybe in your own life, but maybe when you do save with other individuals that come forward have had difficult times as well.
100%. And that's why community is important, because who do you go to? Like I said, there was in my early part of my Sikhi life, I couldn't go to anyone. Obviously, I had Harjinder Singh, isn't it? But at some point, I felt that, you know, I can't keep asking him. I'm asking him the same. You know, you wanted to stand on your own 2 feet. So what do I have to do? I have to go to the Guru. You know, I have to go to the Guru, and you know, and that's basically what it is. The Guru naal jodna aapna sareyan ne.
But we started with that.
Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is our Guru.
Right.
We have Dasam Bani. We have other Bani by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. We respect, we bow, we do all of those things. But Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is our Guru. And that is going to give us liberation. That Bani is going to give us liberation. I believe that the Dasam Bani is for the Khalsa. Because when you're the Khalsa, we have our right that we have to live up to. So we've got to be aware. We're an army, we're fighting in battles. Marni charitar dete. Vityan rakhyo. You could be led astray by doing this kind of thing. Do you understand what I mean? Or, you know, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ Amrita Bani, you know, like a Akal Ustati bhi hegi ya. But then there's information how the deities failed. That doesn't mean to say because Maharaj has written about the deities, we start worshipping the deities.
Hanji. They're examples, right?
They're examples of where they failed.
Hanji.
There's examples where they did well.
Hanji. And we take
They won
take the good
battles.
from that.
But in the same Sroop of Bani, there's examples where they all fell to lust. You know, they all did wrong. So yes, we you know, in Prachar, there's a rule in Prachar, they say Dristant ek angi hunda hai. What that means is when you give an example, you're giving an example on that one thing, not the whole picture. So if I'm giving an example of, for example, just very simply, so somebody who maybe drinks or smokes or whatever, but he wakes up in the morning and does Simran for half an hour. I could argue and say, look, he gets up every day, half an hour Simran karda. Somebody who wants to argue with me will say, yeah, but what does he do at night?
You take either angle.
Do you see what I mean? But the example I'm giving at that point is that positive example. So let's just take the positive from the situation. So in the Bani of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, there's done some great stuff. ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਵੇਸ਼ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਦ੍ਰੋਪਦੀ ਦੀ ਲਾਜ ਰੱਖੀ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ. So we don't disrespect them, but we don't need to worship them. We don't need to worship cults. We need to be careful. We need to, it's hard because we want spirituality, we want experience. We hear these things of different Mahapurushs, Prane Mahapurushs, you know, 100 years ago, and we think, you know, I want to experience those things.
And we look for the person, right?
But we look for the person. But really, if we start doing the Bani, you'll get the experiences. Shakti ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ. We don't believe in those things. ਰਿਧੀਆਂ ਸਿੱਧੀਆਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਉਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ. You start using them, there'll be a time when you fall. Because ਝੂਠ ਸਦਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ. So, for instance, a ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸ਼ਕਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਤੂੰ ਸ਼ਕਤੀਆਂ ਚਲਾਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਵੇਂ. 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, ਜਿੰਨੇ ਤੱਕ your ਕਰਮ ਉਦੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਰਹੂਗਾ, then Maharaj, like I said, that rug will be pulled, ਪਰਦਾ ਚੱਕਿਆ ਜਾਣਾ, then it's gone. Then it's harder to climb back up.
Hanji.
So it's better to try and just avoid all of those things. Don't search for experiences. It's another thing don't search for experiences. Guru de hukum charo. We read Japji Sahib, isn't it? The Siddhs asked, so Mool Mantra ta Mool Mantra. Then the Siddhs asked the question. This is what we do. We bathe physically. It purifies us. That's what they say to Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji. We fast. We've got these granths that we take knowledge from, and we stay quiet. So the first, I might be wrong here, but just this is my reflection. Maharaj has already said in Mool Mantra Jap, take a hukam lata, japana. Is mantra e bani nu japana ya. The second bit of, I think, that you get, because Siddha puchta, give satyara hoiya, give kuda tutte. How do you break falseness? How do you become pure? Hukam rajai chal na nanak likha naal dooji gal hukam di karti ya. Japan di bhi gal karti, te hukam de vich rehn di karti ya. So Maharaj has shown us the way. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, if everything is, uncool, itihas as well, we know there's different, I talked about history, but there's different, you pick up a different book, you get a different history. So what do you believe in? If it links with the Bani of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, my view is acceptable. That's what I was taught by my Ustad.
That's the ultimate test, right?
Yeah. Je Gurbani di kasavati te uttar diya. That's what my Ustad taught me. I'm happy. Like I said, I've been successful so far with what they've told me. I stick to that. So if it sticks in Gurbani, then fine, it works for us. If it doesn't, then maybe we question it. Or there might have been a context behind it. There might be something happened, that caused a situation to occur, for instance. I know you asked specifically about next 10, 5 to Hukam Jarana, Mera Matalab ta I just came back to it's not in our hands. But we have to become the best Gursikhs. We have to help others to become the best Gursikhs. And that's my personal belief.
Yeah.
And where people can actively give seva. So if we've got a threat from the outside by cults, by grooming, by whatever, then obviously we have to we have to stand. Some people's weapons are their tongue.
Yeah.
That's what we use, our tongue, to pass that message on. And some people's, are a bit more activist, aren't they? Because they'll write letters, there'll be a vakil, or there'll be a doctor, whatever. It's whatever you can do, offer that seva.
Utilize your skills.
Utilize your skills, that's it.
Perfect. Anything else?
I think that's most things.
I think it's great. The podcast came back to the start in terms of starting off with Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj and then finishing Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj Ji. So thank you so much, Gyani Ji, for your time. Took on loads of your time.
No, thank you. I honestly, genuinely, hath jod ke, to you guys, to the Sangat, whether in the past, present or future. I don't mean to disrespect anybody's belief, whether it's in our faith or outside of our faith. Like I said, I just been saying, I just have to say what I have to say. ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ my mother, my forefathers, they'll be happy. ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਨੂੰ. And that's all I want to say. I don't want to say it in a disrespectful way, but be the best at what you are, not the diluted version. That's very important. Kirpa ta vartdi hai phir. These experiences, sorry, I'm going off, these experiences, these cults show, because one could argue, well, the gurus, they showed some sort of, you've given some examples of Babaji. How did they know that woman wanted that much money? What are they doing? That thing happens naturally. That's not a forced, I'm using my Shakti for my Prabhata, for my Vadiyai.
To impress people. Yeah.
To impress people. Oh, pala karaunde ya. Kise da.
Because that woman needed help, right?
She needed help. ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ. Shahid ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ. ਤੇ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ, ਸਿੰਘਣੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ. They were ultimate to help anybody. So that's the key in all of this. That's the key in all of this. So I apologize if I offend anybody. It's just I want to try and help. ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਬਾਪ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੋਣਗੇ. And that I just want to keep them happy. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And if anybody wants to ask me when you listen to this, any more clarity, any, specific points, or even, what about this view? You what about this view? What about this historical reference? What about this? Prem and I'll sit with anybody. I'll sit with anybody. We don't need to argue. I'll give you my viewpoint. But let's not dilute anything. That's the key. Let's not dilute it.
Again, thank you so much for your time. And I guess on behalf of all of us and a lot of viewers watching, thank you for the efforts you've made in your seva. It's helped a lot of us along the way. Got my first yatra with yourselves, obviously.
No,
with
I
the
didn't do
Guru's
nothing. I
kirpa.
told you I didn't do nothing.
Hanji,
Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib ji karde sab
Hanji,
kuch.
Hanji. And Maharaj thanu vichardi Allah vacharakan and continue to give you more seva, and everyone looks forward to the English translations and this new exciting venture that you mentioned. So Maharaj tarakki bakshan.
Guru Sahib ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ imagine ਜੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਬਣ ਜਾਣ what more do we want
Hanji.
ਹਨਾ what more do we want ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਬਣ ਜਾਣ
Very good. I think that's a perfect point to finish off on. Finish with a Fateh.
Hanji.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ
Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh.